Welcome back, SMITE fans, for another phenomenal day in the SCC. I couldn't tell you exactly what day of the week it is, but that's not my job. My job is to break down exactly what happens and what's going to happen throughout the entirety of the day, but I cannot do it alone. I'm joined by the eccentric, big-haired Trelly Relly. Trelly, say something to the fans.
I do have some big hair.
All right, cool. So I'm not a great transition. I was kind of hoping for a little bit more from him, but we were just buying time for exactly this. I want to get into that schedule as quickly as possible so that the fans at home know exactly what's happening. It's a lot of SCC. Well, not a lot. It's exactly
one game.
It's one. Well, it might be 3 games.
Well, I mean, one set. Good call. That's my bad.
One set of
it's
the
at
SCC.
least 2 games.
At minimum 2 games, maybe 3 games, but we'll take a peek at who's playing exactly. If you're looking at the schedule, you missed it earlier this week. The Athenian Sages took down the Storm in a quick 2-0 fashion. The Hounds up against the Tanuki at 2-1, and the Kaolin Wardens and the Weavers, I suppose tiebreak in that we got to figure out if we're going to have more 2-0s or more 2-1s in the North American SCC. And this is a matchup, I think, that is going to be pretty indicative of the standings going forward. Once we get a look at the standings, we'll see the Kaolin Wardens perhaps not performing up to the expectations that we had considering just how much of a stacked roster this is. And the Weavers kind of just want to find a win.
Yeah, the Weavers would definitely like to get on the board, given the standings thus far. You know, it's been vastly mirrored. The Eldritch Hounds have been continuously winning. The Weavers have been continuously losing. So the 0-4-4-0 mindset, probably not what the Weavers want, though. You know, the Hounds are happy to win. And I'm sure, you know, the Kaolin Wardens being in second, still a solid placing given how competitive this circuit is. But, you know, you highlighted it. They got like Moswal won Worlds, man. They would like to be in the #1 spot. So they still look good, but I'm sure they're feeling confident. And the Weavers have made a couple roster adjustments since, you know, phase #1, and we'll have to see, you know, if that's going to play out for them.
Yeah, we'll get a better look at the Weavers, but first we got to break down the Kaolin Wardens, and Trelly alludes to it lightly. This is a roster full of SPL talent, previous world champions, some MVPs over here. RelentlessOne, Cyno, Moswal, Geno, and Gryph, maybe the 2 titular players, and the only 2 players on our website that have their pictures in, because they've been in studio a couple of times, Moswal and Cyno. This is a team that very much plays through the jungle and mid. Anytime you're watching them, that mid 3v3 has been a major win condition for them. Cyno going towards either just standard, like, Kirimi style picks from the SPL, where he wants to get the game in his hands early on, or whatever the weirdest thing he can come up with on the day of. ESET, Scotty, anything he really wants to play in the jungle. Moswal, on the other hand, a bit more standard, but still certainly playing Moswal picks. If you've been a fan of the SCC or the SPL for the last couple of years, you know that he's going to be locking in things like the Zeus and the Opwash.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think given the start of this circuit, in phase #1, Cyno was playing some different style of jungle picks, but he's sort of dialed it back a little bit, you know, going to the Erlungs and things that are more meta. Of course, when you look at Moswal, usually he'll whip something out like the Zeus, like the Outwash. If they lose game #1, then he's on like Thoth or something. He's looking for something that can give him some pressure in that lane. But it's one of those picks that is super annoying to deal with, the Outwash in particular, because if you just draft a little bit of healing, you think you're going to have a good time, and then it just gets completely shut down. It's like you can't waste a ban on Outwash, right? That's one of those things that maybe in the second phase of bans you could try and target, but you're not banning Outwash top 3.
No, certainly not. And the Kaolin Wardens, as you said, are a team that almost feel like you have to force them to respect you, so we'll see whether or not the Anansi Weavers are capable of doing so. They haven't found their win just yet this phase, but this is a team that I had expected to perform a lot better. Maybe it's those roster changes week in and week out. Feels like we're looking at least one person in every week that's slightly different than the last. But a team that has got some pretty significant talent on it. MandoWarrior, Sops, and Diesel have been running it down in the SEC for nearly as long as the SEC has been a thing. Chinfu, a new prospect, has looked very good in multiple roles, now playing jungle for the Weavers. And then what has quickly become probably one of my favorite IGNs in the entirety of competitive SMITE's history, right behind Shadow Nightmare, BIGSLIMTIMMYJIM running it down in support.
Yeah, but BIGSLIMTIMMYJIM's been around.
Has he?
Yeah, are we not allowed to leak his name? Because we got...
No, please leak it.
Yeah, it's Cope.
Oh, that's Cope?
Yeah, they said it on broadcast last time, so
Who's they?
I thought I got it in production. I'm not sure.
They don't tell me.
Maybe I'm wrong. I was told it was Cope. If it's not Cope, then, you know, Big Slim Timmy Jim's nuts, and I've never heard of him. But I'm pretty sure it's Cope, baby. So if it is, he's been in the SPL before.
That's right.
He's played jungle.
That's right.
And now he's just running it down with the lads, playing some support. He's looking pretty good doing it. I mean, again, they haven't gotten their win yet, but they've been taking some games off. And if you could take one game off, there's a chance you could take that second game off.
Exactly. If they can bleed, you can kill them.
There you go. That was way better. I should have said that.
Yeah, the Anansi Weavers have shown signs of brilliance, have shown signs of being able to take singular maps, but it's about finding the entirety of the set, and they've got a pretty tough opponent ahead of them today against the Kaolin Wardens. I got it in from production. It is actually Cope. So Cope, sorry I didn't put the respect on your name. Maybe don't change it next time if you want us to know who you are, or maybe Charlie leaked it. I'm sorry. I'll call you Big Slim Timmy Jim for the rest of the day, and I expect you to do the same.
I will, of course.
Yeah, thank you.
Anytime.
That's all I wanted.
Yeah.
Now all I want is to get into P's and B's, like, if I'm being completely honest.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let's get
Call
into
for it.
picks and bans for game number 1.
That's right. And see, I know for a fact that production won't listen to me, which is why I have my co-analyst or co-caster do it. Anytime I've called for it, it just doesn't happen. And I'm trying to get the show moving. Kleena, banned first overall by the Wardens, pretty standard, but it's a pick that's kind of fallen off a little bit. I feel like we see her a lot less, especially at the SPL level of play.
Yeah, it's interesting because I feel like Kleena is still as good as she always is. It's just one of those things that are you okay with facing these Guardians with the Conduit Gem? Are you okay with sometimes getting out pressured? Do you want to rotate to these team fights and be tanky, or do you want to do a bunch of damage? It's just, I think it's a bit of a flavor of the month type of deal, and Kleena sort of fell out of favor, but the Weavers still like her, so looks like the Wardens are going to ban that away, as well as the Khepri and the Nemesis. Notably, usually when you see the Nemesis banned away, the Mercury is soon to follow. Not so much in the SPL, with the SCC still holds that pick pretty highly, and it will be banned away there, as well as the Robert and the Erlong. So first thing that comes to my mind, that Osiris pick, because, you know, Nem and Merc are the same sides of a coin. Osiris and Erlong, usually same sides of the coin, but the Chernobog is what the Wardens want to prioritize first.
Yeah, Chernobog taken first overall. Great global presence, good damage output. I was also considering maybe like a Yamoja selection. That's been dominant at every single level of competitive play. A god that brings you a whole lot of pressure as well as healing. It almost forces you to pick up certain relics, but the Warden's gonna hold off a little bit. Maybe calling the bluff of the Weavers, who have not locked it in themselves very often. Ullr and Baron Samedi locked in for them. Baron Samedi used to be that top pick, but I feel like it's been a couple of months since we've seen it locked in this highly.
Yeah, definitely not in that first two. And it sometimes gets banned away, but Ullr and Baron, that's going to bring you a ton of pressure, right? I mean, I'm assuming we can hold on to the Ullr pick, usually in mid as of recent, but could still go to that duo lane. There's still some places where we could throw that Ullr and still gain some pressure, but usually it's up against a mage. Given the fact that Freya's locked in here, I'm assuming that's going to be the Chernobog mid. We've seen Chernobog solo. We've seen him ADC. I haven't seen too much Freya mid, but there is an application for it since the Conduit Gem buff. So just a fair amount of auto attack damage here for the Wardens. They've essentially just cemented their late game, right? If you see two auto attackers like Freya and Chernobog, you're going to have a pretty good time once you get like 25 minutes.
Both of these drafts take some strange selections in their third picks. Both warriors, Guan and Hercules locked in. Feels like it's been like maybe 4 or 5 months since we've seen either of these gods picked at any level of competitive play. Are there some changes that made them better, or do you think these guys just like these picks?
I mean, I don't think there's any changes that have made Hercules and Guan better. The Glide Shield specifically for maybe the Guan, but this Herc is giving me support vibes. I'll have to see how the rest of the draft peters out. Obviously, the Baron Samedi could also go to support, but I've seen Mando play the Baron, so that's where I'd put it as of now. We'll have to see how the rest of the draft peters out because it's been so long since we've seen a Hercules in support because your mana's not the greatest. But when you pick this much healing into the Wardens, you got to expect Moswal's going to go to that outwash.
And it's not as if you can have choosy healing. It's not like you're an Afro, you link one target, you're healing there, or even just some single target healing like a Yamoja auto. It's Baron Samedi. If you're in combat, you're healing your entire team and you don't really get to choose who doesn't get it, so outwash should find value with that stun. Another strange selection. Shiva has completely fallen off. Last time we saw this locked in, did not perform very well in the SCC. Fell off very early on. I believe that was Magic Feet. 4 levels down in the early portions of the match and couldn't really catch up. And by the time he had level 20 Shiva, not exactly what you pick the god for. Chronos on the other side, though. This is a god that I thought we'd see a lot more with the rise of magical hunters. I'd assumed we'd see kind of Chronos at the same priority level that we've seen from Freya, especially considering how long these games have gone. What are your expectations for that god?
Well, I'm assuming the Chronos is going to have a decent time given the fact that there's not too much early presence from the Wardens. Obviously, Shiva is going to be a nightmare, and the Guan horse is going to be rough, but Freya and Chernobog are going to take a while to come online, as does the Chronos, so you have a decent matchup there. As long as the Weavers can play around this Chronos and look for late game, they should be all right.
All right, we'll see if the Weavers can make it all the way to the late game as we jump in to game 1 between the Wardens and the Weavers, and it is going to be Hercules in the jungle.
That's
strange
Chinfu,
selection. Strange selection. And normally when you see the red buff start between jungle and mid, that means you're kind of lacking in pressure in mid. You want to make sure you're not losing out on your own camps, or perhaps you want to go for an early gank towards that soul lane. But this is a Hercules and an Ullr. I'm imagining they just jam it down.
Yeah, I mean, looking at Chinfu probably could have even started driving strike, just blinked behind someone and looked for a combo, but it looks like wanting to go the safe route here, just look for the level 2. Once you get, you know, your ability, your Earthbreaker into the driving strike combo, could be just forcing down the beads. And you're also up against the Freya jungle. This is Cyno piloting that, which means not too much. You're up against double mage. You just get infinite pressure. But it looks like Chinfu's not going to head to mid and is going to look towards that soul lane possibly after these back camps. Just seeing if maybe RelentlessOne wants to push up too far. RelentlessOne is at the tower line, so this is about as free of a gank as you could ask for unless the pre-beads comes through. We'll have to see if RelentlessOne's onto it.
Early punch with the beads reaction time, even better from RelentlessOne. Pool not quite in range, and MandoWarrior, who had not cleared out the wave, has not ticked over to level 2, so your dart not available just yet. So an easy evasion from RelentlessOne, but at least costs him the beads. Could see another rotation from Chinfu back towards him. With Freya in the jungle, I know we've seen it from Cyno a fair bit in the past. He's actually played it on the world stage as well, but that was about 4 years ago. How do you think that's going to look nowadays? I'm thinking it's going to be a little bit slow to start.
Yeah, and especially because, I mean, the reason that, hold that thought, Cyno's going to be in some trouble here because that's a Ullr and that's a level 2 Freya.
And it's an easy pull in. Cyno juking inside the minion wave. Chinfu on the chase. Pulls pretty strong in the early portions. Ticks over to 3, finds the banish, and just walks himself out of there. Meanwhile, the entire time, Moswal throwing out some free damage. Chinfu wanted to get behind the opwash for the push. Instead, Moswal, ever the veteran, he's seen this play 1,000 times likely, avoids that, throws some damage out himself. Now Sops and Chinfu, worse for the wear.
Yeah, so the Freya's early game, you know, given the fact, hold that thought again, Cyno finds the whoop on the Chinfu and is just going to invade this back camp. It's getting so aggressive. So Freya got some buffs, but also Conduit Gem got some buffs. So those things on top of each other meant that Freya with Conduit Gem was really strong. This is Eye of the Jungle Freya, a little bit different, but Cyno is still finding a ton of success on the pick early on, level 3 status. I mean, usually you're waiting till you get a ring before you get active, but you're up against a Hercules. He's got 2 abilities and no beads. You're getting out pressured in the jungle. Your back camps are not your own at the moment.
And maybe some of those changes to how Pulse works. It used to be at rank 1, I believe it was like 10 damage on Pulse, and it was a rank 3, you'd get up to 35. Now you're at like 30 at rank 1. Diesel steps too far forward. This Chronos might be a behemoth in the late game, but we're in the early. Only 2 minutes in, and you're pretty easy to shut down. A dash forward from Geno confirms the kill, and now the Kaolin Wardens, with all this pressure, can start looking towards this purple buff. Mid laner Sops nearby, as is Chinfu. Geno, incredibly low HP. Hercules gets blink in about 9 seconds. Maybe could rotate back through, but being already behind in experience, doesn't want to go for the risky play, and instead heads back towards his green buff for some farm. That's a early loss for Diesel in the lane, but you don't pick Chronos for the early. I think they can just wait it out for a little bit.
Yeah, it could be a decent plan. Given the fact that Chinfu started this tier 2 Transcendence, he just does not have too much damage. The Herc passive certainly could come into play if he's, you know, getting damaged as he wants to engage, but if you're just going for a blink, try to engage with a driving strike when 2 targets that have beads are there, it's not going to be a great time. Griff doesn't have the beads available, and obviously Geno's got sprint, so could have been a decent opportunity. You just don't have that much damage early on. You might want to be looking for that boulder. That's when you can really start to get active with this Hercules jungle. I mean, it's not like it's a great gank. There's definitely better junglers out there, but Hercules has his strengths, and just displacing people like this Outwash, for example, could be a nice play.
Moswal pushed in, beads a little bit late, gets the full extension of the driving strike, pulls him out of the crypts. Moswal didn't really need the help of his ghost, though. His damage output just by the base kit, pretty strong. Chinfu forced to retreat. But you do, again, get the beads off a priority target. Chinfu doing a very good job getting active on the map and removing these relics.
Yeah, I expect to see some rotations in, because I don't think, without like BIGSLIMTIMMYJIM's ult, there's not too much pressure here. I haven't seen sops on point with the axes, maybe just sitting back trying to farm until that Transcendence is online. Chinfu's been on point with getting the beats down, but you know, where's the return gank? You know, he went over to solo, got RelentlessOne beats, then sort of gave up on that. Now he's looking at mid. Moswal's going to have to sit in lane, though, so you do have to get decently close to the wave. There's always going to be an opportunity for a blink pull if Chinfu's on point with those, so I do expect to see a little bit of aggression, but maybe a BIGSLIMTIMMYJIM goes mid. There could be a pull-in and then a combo opportunity. A much easier ultimate to hit, I would say, besides like a blink Earthbreaker.
Yeah, so maybe Chinfu rotates back in on his own, or maybe it's Griff going up in the air, lands right in front of Diesel, and the rest of the Wardens nearby. That's the beads from the Chronos. Rewind might be forced out, but too late for Diesel, who falls down. BIGSLIM trying to get into his own tower, but Cyno is just doing too much damage already. This Freya hasn't even gone back to base just yet, but clearly those buffs serving him well.
He hasn't even backed, man. That's a tier 1 ring. Moswal could be in a little bit of trouble if the axe
connects. The axe, and the axe does connect. Moswal picks up the corpses, nearly gets enough HP to survive the auto attack, but sops has enough damage with that red buff, is able to get a return kill. The Weavers put their first on the board, but the Kaolin Wardens, I think you cannot take away with the lead that they have already established, not even 6 minutes in, and nearly 1,500 both experience and gold in their favor. It is going well for the Wardens all the way across the map. And as you said, RelentlessOne kind of free casting this lane now, gets to play Shiva at his strongest portion without having to worry too much about Chinfu. Even when Chinfu has gotten involved, it's really just burning the beads, and then from there, the Wardens are just waiting for those relics to come back up. Seems as if wherever Cyno is, that's where the aggression starts. And you wouldn't expect that from a Freya at level 7.
Yeah, if I'm looking at Hercules versus Freya in the early, I'm definitely giving the edge to the Herc, and now Cyno's going to be online a little bit earlier. BIGSLIMTIMMYJIM, it's going to go back to base pretty quickly here. One more auto from Cyno will do it. And that's just unfortunate. You don't have beat as the Baron. You want to be at this tanky target with the Gauntlet of Thieves, but 3 stacks on that item, you get the whoop, and that's pretty much it. You can go into life of the party, get some mitigations, but 3 targets around you. Moswal is absolutely swinging with that Spear of Death, and Cyno's got 2 kills already, so that's really not something you want to try and gamble with damage-wise. But as we were saying, a level in the jungle on Freya early can be pretty detrimental. She just has so much damage as is, and a fast track to the late game is exactly what you want. If you're on the Wardens, you're probably pretty happy with Cyno's performance thus far.
Looking at Cyno's damage, it looks like once he takes the first and second ability, he's autoing for upwards of like 230 per strike.
Yeah, I don't like that.
Most people are sitting at about like 1,200 HP right now. That's like 5 auto attacks for Cyno, and those 5 auto attacks come pretty quickly when you've got the ring build. So the Kaolin Wardens jungler off to a roaring start, only about a level lead on Chinfu. I'd like to see the Weavers kind of get aggressive on the Cyno. I know that you don't want to fight around the strength of this composition, but at least stripping those beads, getting the Valkyrie's discretion off might be able to slow down this Freya jungle, make him a little bit less likely to just walk into your lane and whoop you, because now he's leading the charge, and he's got BIGSLIMTIMMYJIM in his sights. Good axe stun stops the DPS from Cyno, but it's an engage from Geno. It's trying to clear out that backline. Griff will take down BIGSLIM. Now it's Sops and Chinfu with 3 in front of him. Cyno dropped low, double kill over to the jungler of the Anansi Weavers. Griff and Geno playing with essentially fumes in the tank. Griff dropped low. Diesel resets himself with a rewind. Now it's all about finishing off these kills. Hides inside the wall, essentially an Aegis for the Chernobog. But what has he dashed into? RelentlessOne makes the wide rotation. Griff does eventually fall, but at what cost? Sops has to trade out.
That was a massive blink in from Chinfu. Hits the double boulder, doesn't quite get the double bounce. Either way, was able to claim that double kill. Goes back to base, and a nice rotation in from RelentlessOne as well. So a little bit of life here from the Weavers. They were tired of getting kind of rolled in the early game, and they answered back with some massive kills. And still, though, that gold lead's sitting about 1,500 because of the rotation in from RelentlessOne. You know, you'd expect MandoWarrior to be able to try and match that pres with this global ult, but use the teleport, was getting a little bit pushed out in lane, as you would expect from an early game Shiva up against a Ratatoskr. And because you're a little bit behind, you're going to be slow in that rotation, and Mando said, I'm just going to clear the wave over here. There's no way I can make that rotation over. Cyno, however, is trying to make that rotation over, looking for Mando. Might have the whoop here.
Mando caught out, has to use the dart the wrong direction. Cyno with speed buff and ring should be able to catch up here. Just waiting on that whoop to get in range. Mando jukes back. And And I think that might be the last play he makes. Does get the dart off, actually, but RelentlessOne plays the angle and finds the return kill. Sops has made the rotation now. Cyno narrowly evades the axe, and from here, it's all chase down. No leap available for Sops. Cyno needs to connect that one auto attack to apply the slow. Damage output not so high without that first ability. Now Chinfu trying to line up his own pool. Valkyrie's Discretion just to evade the pull-in from Hercules. And that should be the end of this engagement. Not much to fight over on the right-hand side. The Weavers just going to farm out these waves.
Yeah, actually smart by the Weavers to not engage there. I got my eyes on Gryph's ult. If the cooldown is up, anytime they think they've got the man advantage, it could just be switched on a dime because that Chernobog could join the fray. And you really don't want to gamble with the 4-in-1 Chernobog at the moment with full stack Transcendence. Probably a smart option to just dip out there. Even though forcing out the Valkyrie's Discretion early, Cyno still has a ton of damage and back for the full demonic grip. So he's got 2 rings already at about 10 minutes into the game. I just don't imagine anyone really wants to box with that. You have a ton of CC in the form of like Sops, Chinfu, Mando. Like the actual team fight could really slow down some of this DPS from Freya, but if Cyno's on point and has the beads ready, he's going to be doing so much auto attack damage. I don't think you really want to try and gamble with that. So smart by the Weavers to just back off, and only one more pick going the way of the Wardens. You got to feel for Diesel though. 0-2 in lane on this Chronos, would love to get off to a better start. Gryph has just been pushing every wave under as much as possible as Chinfu is going to get ulted here, I guess.
A little bit of damage output, but not enough to finish off a Hercules. Should be able to resustain a bit of it. Looks for the pull, does not connect. MandoWarrior TP's in, does connect the stun, but a dash forward and your stun down means that Cyno's got a free target. Demonic Grip finding some value early on. What was that? 240 damage? 1 auto attack and a Chinfu. The Anansi Weavers do survive their aggressiveness, and the Kaolin Wardens now reset themselves back to neutral. It is just a curious pace to this game. The Kaolin Wardens, I would argue, have got just really good late game scaling and phenomenal early game presence. 2,500 or 2,000 rather. Gold in the lead already. But what do you think of this Demonic Grip start? MandoWarrior, he's got ult. There's almost no way he dies, so I'm going to go ahead and ask my question. What do you feel about the Demonic Grip in second slot for Cyno? Normally it's like that hastened ring. I feel like Demonic's one of the last ones you're looking at.
Yeah, I would definitely go the hasten personally, but I think Cyno's plan is to shred these tanky targets for Moswal. If they're fighting together, you're sort of buffing your mid laner's damage as well. I usually look away from the demonic unless there's another mage on the team, or like a heavy guardian damage dealer. In this case, you do have that. We've seen how much damage this outpush has been able to output, so if you're playing through that, you're going to have a good time. Geno, though, is going to take a little bit of poke, but you also have the CAD shield, you got some healing. Not going to be your biggest worry. So Cyno, given the itemization, probably looking to sit around mid lane with Moswal, shred some protections. They both will be doing a ton of damage with that.
Sops whooped and sees the damage output immediately. That was 2 auto attacks from Cyno, and the first ability from Moswal dropped him to half HP immediately. The Kaolin Wardens in a good position to keep up their aggression, both at full HP. MandoWarrior up in the air, chasing out. Can he find a priority target? Evaded by both. Early beads from Cyno, though, will cost him that CC immunity. Moswal loses his life to the snipe from Chinfu, and now the Kaolin Wardens on the retreat. 5 strong from the Weavers, stuck between a rock and a hard place. 4 in front, 1 behind. Gryph makes the rotation as well. And that damage output has just stopped from the Weavers. The Kaolin Wardens returning in spades. RelentlessOne finally makes the rotation. Dancing in the backline, Sops forced to leap away. BIGSLIMTIMMYJIM taking a bit of damage as well. Both teams just poking and prodding. It looks like a full-on engagement, but I haven't seen it just yet until now. Diesel steps too far forward, forgets that Cyno hit so hard. So it's an easy return kill for the Wardens, but not before Diesel finds one of his own. Geno in trade. Now, can you keep up this siege? The Anansi Weavers drop so low. Any stray auto attack might finish off these kills. Minions trying their hardest. MandoWarrior and Sops walking out. Big Slim, less than 100 HP. No problem. As long as Gryph can't connect his damage, and he cannot. What a weird fight. It was a game of chicken between these two teams. Yeah, whoever backs first is a loser, and nobody backed unless they were in a body bag.
And it looks like now just going for the gold. Fury Moswal's going to stack up some corpses in the meantime. Given how slow this is going, the Sops can't get in, and the rest of the team is here. So it looks like a free Gold Fury for the Wardens after one of the stranger fights we've seen this phase. As you mentioned, looks like no one really wanted to back. If Cyno has haste in there, I'm pretty sure runs down every single
That might have been
member.
a penta.
Yeah, that could have easily been a penta, but unfortunately, Freya has a rough time closing gap without an item like that, even with the slow attack, with the slow auto attacks. It's a little bit rough. You know, given the fact that Moswal's been playing this game so well, he's 0-3. I think Cyno's just been stealing all of those last hits. So much damage coming out from both of them, of course, but the Moswal's had the juke shoot. He's been applying a ton of anti-heal. And, man, Diesel's looking online. Like, for the 0-2 start, now he's 1-3, that one kill. He's got the fully stacked Book of Thoth into the Spear of Death. So this Chronos has, he's certainly evolved since the last time we saw him.
Experience equalized some parity in the duo lane between Griff and Diesel, both sitting at level 14, despite Griff having the 4-1-4 slash line as opposed to 1-3 from this Chronos. Book of Thoth already stacked up, Spear of Desolation, so your abilities are dealing a whole lot of damage. Now starting to look down that ring tree for Diesel. And Tier 2 ring, in my opinion, probably one of the strongest Tier 2 items in the game. Just movement, speed, attack, speed, power. Literally everything you want and a good deal of it. I believe it's 55 power. As the Kaolin Wardens, they saw some success around the gold rune. Like to reprise that at the Pyromancer. MandoWarrior at half HP. He's got to play careful here.
Yeah, it looks like Chinfu and BIGSLIMTIMMYJIM coming from the back, and they have the horse, but Mando's going to get very low.
Mando caught between every single member of the Kaolin Wardens will fall down. Big Slim now in the back line on his own. Gotta think that's an easy chase down. Baron Samedi with no ultimates, got no way to deal with all this damage. Big Slim buys a little bit of time. Like the attempt from Chinfu, goes for the pull blink tech, does not connect, loses out on the relic and his ability.
No shot.
And an early fire giant pull. I'm thinking the Kaolin Wardens probably can't do that with Diesel so close by. Chinfu on the way back in as well, but this Fire Giant's burning pretty quick, down to 50%. Not the greatest confirmation from either of the teams right now. Could be a true coin toss. Chinfu
has ult.
Still has that ultimate, could just toss the boulder out. The Kaolin Wardens, they want the coin toss, and they don't win those. The Anansi Weavers get Fire Giant for themselves, only on 3 members, and maybe 2 if the Kaolin Wardens can have their way. Both relics removed from Diesel, stun connects with Geno. That should be it for the Chronos' life. Sops now trying to fight back in with the help of his soul laner. MandoWarrior connects with 3 on the knockup. Now the Kaolin Wardens fighting inside of their own crypts can turn around the engagement yet again. A back and forth tug of war ends with the Kaolin Wardens exactly where they started, pushing forward into the Anansi Weavers. 3 members now on the defense, 2 with Fire Giant, but they don't want to group up on the Tier 1. The Wardens will take that and take their leave.
Yeah, the Weavers only have 2 members with the FG, and it looks like the Wardens are pretty happy to try and take this fight, despite the low health bars you're seeing. The anti-heal from the Weavers is essentially non-existent right now, and Geno is keeping everyone sustained. BIGSLIMTIMMYJIM, once again, the horses are here, and he's gone. So unfortunate, 0-5 on the Baron. Just does not have the tank stats to try and live all of the ultimates coming the way of the Wardens. One of the benefits of this Guan Yu solo is that you can continuously just heal up and you get multiple ultimates. Maybe BIGSLIMTIMMYJIM expected that one to peter off, but gonna go back to the base very quickly. The good at steal though by Chinfu. I mean, we all saw the boulder.
It was a good boulder.
Yeah, we all knew what it was coming. It looked like the Wardens were pretty happy it's 50-50 that one. Now Geno is gonna have to pop that sprint. He's by himself. Surely up to Mando to hit this stun.
Yeah, Mando, it's a straight line. Connect the slow, connect the shred. Holding on to the stun, actually, eventually throws it out, but it's a target swap from Diesel, who switches to Griff. MandoWarrior up to the air. Geno still somehow drawing breath. Double knock up. Geno might be able to walk his way out of here. No, MandoWarrior's got the auto attack damage. Diesel on the rewinds got his entire kit back, but Griff evades it very well by jumping into the wall. So a 1-for-0 trade favoring the Weavers, and one that I think they needed. 25 seconds left on this Guan Yu on the respawn. Cyno now caught out in mid, could potentially see some aggression. Sops leaps forward, Axe does not connect, and Cyno better believe he's gonna stick his ground. Goes up in the air, sinks some damage into Sops. Now it's Big Slim on the engage. Aegis avoids a bit of the damage,
Cyno
but not all
wins
of it. He's inside the minion wave, and he's got all of his damage back up. Cyno trying his best to resustain. Sops misses off the CC, but does connect the axe afterward. What could have been an awful situation salvaged towards the tail end. RelentlessOne dancing on everyone, just putting out as much damage as he can, but this is a late game Shiva, not doing the most. It's all up to Moswal to actually finish off these kills. MandoWarrior dropped low. Big Slim shouldn't have anything left after that pick onto Cyno, and I think he's very happy to trade out his own life in exchange for the Kaolin Wardens junglers. But this has been a lot of strange aggression again. The fight on the left side doesn't really amount to much. Fight in mid just for your pick. I know it's only Fire Giant on 2, but I'd like to see the Weavers try and group up and look at an actual objective, because when they don't, it gives the opportunity over to the Wardens to do exactly that.
Well, Chinfu's here. He's got Blink and once again has Boulder. Are the Wardens going to make the same mistake twice? They have a lot of corpses here. Moswal does have a decent chance to out-confirm.
It's the Boulder, but will not steal away the objective this time around. The Kaolin Wardens get themselves the Primal Fury. And it should make this next Fire Giant a little bit easier. Better odds at confirming it yourselves. I think that you're right to say that the Corpse Explosion, pretty good confirmation, should be about as much, if not more, than what Chinfu's bringing with that Excavate. So, I'm thinking the Kaolin Wardens got a pretty good opportunity if they can set up defensive positioning around the Fire Giant. RelentlessOne living up to the moniker, just walking forward. Wants to connect with sops. Knockup's good. Pull back in. Similarly, very good. Now Cyno looking for the revenge kill from earlier, but at the cost of his mid laner. Sops makes it over the wall at 10% HP, more than he needed. Now Cyno with no ultimate caught in no man's land. Big Tim, I suppose, got the wrong memo because everybody else has completely vacated the premise. RelentlessOne credit for the kill, but the damage certainly came from the Freya. 1-for-1 trade, mid for support. Again, one that on paper favors the Weavers, but it's the Kaolin Wardens getting aggressive all over again. Geno, he tries to steal speed buff on his own, but no speed buff to be taken. Instead, goes up onto Epona, stuns out 2, pull in onto 4 from RelentlessOne, but the damage output not enough. Diesel resets himself and gets right back into the fray. Cyno dropped down to half, and a double push from Chinfu might be enough to separate this fight. The Kaolin Wardens go in one by one as a conveyor belt and die one by one. But the lead that they had already established going into that fight means that even when you are not playing as a team and you're separated, you can still get a couple of return kills.
Yeah, Chinfu went massive there. That double pull was huge. Even hit a nice Excavate to half health grip before the fight even really got going. Diesel is going to die to that Pyromancer and will have to reset it for the rest of the squad. Moswal is just going to peek his head and see, are you guys on FG? If you're not, I'm going to back up. I don't really care about trying to steal Pyromancer, and it looks like he is just going to hide in this corner and see if he sees the particles from the Fire Giant. Now that he's not, should be able to back up, but a massive trade in favor of the Weavers. Still a gold lead, of course, in favor of the Wardens, but man, all starting just with Geno going way too far up. I mean, 1v4 trying to steal a speed buff, thought that he was much tankier than he is, but I mean, look at the build. He's got a fair bit of HP, but it's really just the Gauntlet of Thebes, the Cat Shield for some healing, and then he went the Sledge third item, so not enough CDR either. If I'm going Guan Yu, I need a Genji's Guard. I need to be spamming ability so I get 2 horses off in a fight, something like that. Either way, I don't think the Weavers are in a great position given the circumstance. You're up against a Chernobog who just finished Deathbringer. You're up against Cyno, who's been pumping out so much damage on the Freya. And you still need Chinfu to get that Bumba's Hammer. Once that comes through, I imagine your fight gets a lot better. This Hercules has been pretty on point. Once you get those cooldown resets, that true damage, your fight gets a lot better.
Agreed. But the Weavers are in a better position, at least. Maybe not a great one, but certainly in a better position to at least try and defend the Fire Giant as 5, and it seems they know that's exactly where the fight is going to erupt. Sops thought about rotating in towards Geno. It was a free pick earlier, but with RelentlessOne playing goaltender, the entrance to the lane should stop that aggression. MandoWarrior up to the air, seeing if anybody has stepped too far forward. Geno forced onto his horse as well. So initiation lost by both the Weavers and the Kaolin Wardens. The Wardens give up their position around the Fire Giant. The Weavers still grouped pretty hard. Could look for a slight pick, but nobody willing to step up just yet.
I'm interested that Cyno didn't actually go for the nimble Rod of Tahuti there. Didn't care about that last 10% pen, and it looks like back on the Fire Giant they will go. Mando doesn't have the ultimate, but is trying to wrap around here onto Moswal.
Now, on the wraparound without his ultimate available means that he is a sitting duck in this backline. Cyno connects a whole lot of damage. MandoWarrior off the mark with a stun. Meanwhile, on the other side of the fight, RelentlessOne in the exact same position, not nearly as survivable, should eventually fall down. Dashes forward but avoids the stun from MandoWarrior, but in dashing away from him, goes straight into Sops. Big Slim on the other side has evaded with his life. Shouldn't be forced back to base. And another pick to the Weavers. RelentlessOne and oGryph now in the grayscale. Cyno on the retreat. During this entire fight, MandoWarrior's got time to get his ultimate back. Won't dive alone. Nobody willing to walk through these enhanced towers anymore. Geno steps up, takes a bit of poke from Sops, but 2-for-0 trade for the Anansi Weavers. What you're saying, it's a better position, but it's starting to look like a favorable one.
No, it is starting to look like a favorable one. I'm not really sure how the engages are going for the Wardens here. You would love for just like a decent horse into a stun, then you start auto-attacking, but RelentlessOne apparently not tanky enough to get to the back line here. Diesel's been just pumping out a ton of damage on this Chronos in these fights. Has the Nimble Rob Tahuti and the Telekines finished now, so that's going to be even worse. As long as Chinfu's able to CC these auto attackers, like Cyno, for example, we're going to see plays like this.
Man, that was just a clean play. Third personing the corners. Cyno doesn't see him walking up, gets behind him, easy push in, CC chain into the pick. Geno trying to create some space around this Fire Giant. Moswal committing to the steal, loses his life and the objective. The Weavers 5 strong with fire, and with Geno going the wrong direction and with a chase right behind him, will fall down as well. 3 members of the Wardens in the grayscale, and the Weavers now 5 strong can start their siege on the right side of the map. Only 4 towers still standing for the Wardens, but that's 4 gold caches to be collected. And it seems as if it should be pretty easy. This might even be a Phoenix siege attempt. The Kaolin Wardens got a long time on the respawn.
Yeah, it's going to be at least 15 seconds before Cyno can help out. RelentlessOne's on some back camps at the moment, so we'll have to channel that back. BIGSLIMTIMMYJIM might be able to spot him out, and he does. So I think that stopping of the back is this Phoenix guaranteed. Griff's in left lane, man. He doesn't even care about this Phoenix. He can't get there in time. He said half the team's gone. I'm not going to, risk my life for that play, so I'm going to steal away as much as I can. Maybe look for the tier 2 tower. Oni Fury could be a decent consolation prize, but with no one around to tank, I don't imagine Griff wants to make that play either. The Weavers are able to close up that gold lead and now put themselves about 4,000 in the lead with that bird and that tier 2 tower going down. And essentially the late game has arrived. Like, you got Moswal, who's still level 18, has not been able to tick over to 20. This Chronos, he's here, right? Diesel's been swinging, but now he's got the Nimbarod, the Telekine, should be able to upgrade that starter when he gets the chance. Now Sops is ticking over to level 20. Looks like he's not really prioritizing the Bluestone Brooch, more so looking towards that Heartseeker for some more burst onto these tanky targets, HP steal, stuff like that. And now the Weavers just get the chance to pick apart this map. What do they want to go for? First, that Oni Fury is going to give them some enhanced minions, and they can look for these other tier 2 towers.
So the Kaolin Wardens realizing that Oni Fury probably not the best place to take your fight, considering Fire Giant defense didn't look so good for him. But I would argue for the most part, we've seen the Kaolin Wardens on the offensive. At every single point, it's them grouping up around the Fire Giant, forcing engagement, grouping up on a tier 1 tower, doing the exact same thing. How does their defense look, Trelly?
I mean, it's pretty easy to get some value out of the outwash because you're running into these hard-hitting mages, right? Cyno doesn't have to chase you down, look for a whoop. You're walking into him. On the flip side, it's hard for them to run away. They either have to fight, stand their ground, and engage, or it's very difficult to dip out here. Mando's got the ult. Whenever he goes into that, the rest of the mages have to run. Chinfu
in first, finds Moswal and removes him from the map strategically. He has got nothing to play with. Diesel on the rewind, able to reset himself. Big Slim, the target of aggression from RelentlessOne, but Chinfu again strikes her max range. Earlier it was a Fire Giant steal. This time he shuts down Cyno. Griff able to find one in return, but not before Geno falls down as well. To dash in, Griff connects his second, has to come up massive for his team. Connect the damage into Diesel, stun good from the Chronos. One more auto attack is all it would take. Double for the Kaolin Wardens and a triple for Griff on the defense. The Anansi Weavers, that fight starts perfect, but falls apart so quick.
That is the perfect engage. Chinfu did everything right. He was able to just delete Cyno with the boulder, take out Moswal before the fight even begins, but I mean, Griff just goes massive. The RelentlessOne was able to stall the rest of the team until that ultimate came up. Griff chases to the back line, should be able to get rid of these Oni Fire minions, and your left Phoenix stands tall. Of course, you still lose the right bird. Moswal should be able to tick up to 20 in the meantime, though, and that's a massive power spike as well. Might need an alternate timeline here or something. 0-7 on the outwash. If you can get the Crypts out, if you can ult before you die, there's still a good bit of value this outwash brings, but would love to see the end of a team fight just once. And again, you gotta give highlight to Chinfu there, making sure to find those picks. That could have went a lot worse, but it looked so clean, man. I mean, the early beginnings of that fight were exactly what you want from your jungler. Unfortunately, the rest of the team just gets picked apart by the damage from this Chernobog, and now Kaolin Wardens are able to set up towards this Fire Giant that could be enhanced by the time it actually comes up. A minute to go. Yeah, about 15 seconds, unless they burn it right off the respawn. We should be looking at an enhanced Fire Giant situation.
And the Wardens have got the ability to burn it within that 15 seconds, but maybe not the actual want to do so. Instead, they'd love to find a pick first. Significant grouping from the Wardens on top of a
They're just
ward.
on the ward.
So they can stand here as long as they want. The Weavers do realize that that's exactly what the Wardens are looking for. So it's a reset back to the Pyro. Pick that one up for yourselves. Cyno can head back to base, take that enhanced movement speed from the Pyromancer to rejoin his team with the Fire Giant very shortly. The Weavers are no stranger to this situation. The Fire Giant defense from them earlier was incredibly strong, and that was with a deficit. Now still 2,000 gold in the lead and with a significant vision advantage around the Fire Giant pit. Maybe it's the Weavers showing presence first. They haven't got the same level of burn as the Kaolin Wardens, but they've got decent confirmation if the need arises. Chinfu tries to connect the pull, but it's immune by Geno's Taolu Assault. Pull in from Big Tim will force the Epona from NotGeno. Putting a whole lot of slow and a triple stun out, but it's taken a lot of his HP to do so. Surrounded now. Can he make his way out of there? MandoWarrior would have loved to have finished off that kill, but Cyno is able to land his autos in that still target, drop him down to 10%. Now oGryph, who comes up massive when the Phoenix defense has already been dropped low in the team fight, hovering inside the wall, is able to work his way out. Diesel tries to make that same hero play that we had seen from Gryph, and it costs him his life. Gryph, the target of aggression from Chinfu, eventually falls down. Now it's MandoWarrior with the ire of 4 Wardens that is able to only take about 10% of his HP. Chinfu, who was ignored for a moment, comes back into the team fight and connects a pull. This Bumba's hammer finding some value, but Moswal able to shut him down. Cyno killed in return. So now it is a 3 versus 3, but the Kaolin Wardens looking much worse for the wear. MandoWarrior, not just his second of the team fight. Now Moswal separating the engagement with the Crips, should be able to make his way back towards base. But with this entire team fight happening, when it does, that right Phoenix was dropped incredibly low. That should be a weakened minion wave on the right-hand side, so the Kaolin Wardens will have to clear it out, but they're there. They've already got their Phoenix back up. Fire Giant can't really be pulled by the Weavers. I'd call that a soft win for the Wardens.
Yeah, I really thought that bird was going to go down. It seemed like maybe MandoWarrior is going to go auto-attack it twice, and that is going to be the play. No one's around to stop this, so they should be pretty free, unless he just does no damage. And given the fact that he's doing 18, finally, it will go down the big auto, hitting for 36. Mando's going to have to ult out of here. I don't think he really wants to engage with Moswal, but unless, yeah, okay, I was going to say, unless he wants to just try and outrun Gryph, which he definitely can't do, should be able to outrun that and get the bird down. So right side Phoenix does eventually fall, but the Kaolin Wardens, despite slightly losing that trade 3v2, they didn't lose EFG, and I think that's the big win here. The Weavers have a chance to just go back in. Chinfu was able to just hide in the vision of the obelisk offering there and just wait for the fight to sort of favor him and then just come from the back. So an interesting play, but the Wardens are actually pulling this EFG here. They don't have too much burn anymore.
Fire Giant down to 50%, but the Anansi Weavers have shown some presence. Chino goes to the engage again, gets dropped low, but buys enough time for the Giant to actually go down. Now it's all about the disengage. Can the Kaolin Wardens make it out of here with their buffs? Moswal probably won't be so lucky. Alternate timeline triggered, but only delays the inevitable. Cyno goes up to the air and lands into his grave. RelentlessOne, the only remaining member of the Kaolin Wardens, is what I would have said had he not immediately fallen down. The Anansi Weavers on Fire Giant defense may not have gotten the buff, but they take the game.
I mean, yeah, the Kaolin Wardens were fine with 50-50ing that objective. Maybe they thought it would have been a bigger deal in the team fight after the fact, but the Weavers come up massive. The late game was what they were playing for, even into a Freya and a Chernobog, and they simply did not care. Moswal was vastly ineffective. Unfortunately, the outpush just was not allowed to exist. Chinfu, I mean, he was so on point. I didn't see too many misses throughout this whole game. If you're going to pick the Hercules jungle and look that good, I'm worried.
And I'd argue NotGeno wasn't super tanky that game at all. The Guan Yu went for a bruiser build that wasn't a whole lot of damage. It was a good HP infusion, but your HP didn't really last a whole lot of time when every ability is slamming you for like 600 damage. So even on the nice initiations for the Kaolin Wardens, your front line's getting burned away so quick. And the Anansi Weavers seem to have taken notice. In the early portions of the game, it was, all right, yo, Geno's like right in our face. Let's just get past him, try and close gap on the Cyno. In the later team fights, it was, hey, Geno's in front of us. Let's nix this guy and get into that back line. And it seemed to have been a great adjustment for the Weavers. But we'll break it all down right after this break.
Tell him I need my money right now. Brought me the juice, they stole out my crown. Yeah. Sorry to tell you, I know my value. I'm gonna recoup, yeah. But don't waste my energy, my energy. I don't got much, don't be wasting all my energy. I keep it tight, don't let nobody get close to me. My heart is right, don't question my integrity. No, I thought we would be just fine, and I thought your heart was like mine. But let me find out, you've been going around throwing shots, running plots. Come on, man, tryna block my blessings, but no need for comparisons. What's from me won't be from me. Yeah, I'ma go through just to grow through. But pay me what you owe me for, I make what you've been saying about me true, true. Tell him I need my money right now. Brought me the juice, they stole out my crown. Yeah. Sorry to tell you, I know my value. I'm gonna recoup, yeah. Don't waste my loyalty, my loyalty. I let you in back then because I couldn't see, but now it's clear you ain't ever been true to me. My intuition ain't ever lied, I had to leave. Handle your business, do what you think you need to do to get your revenge. But you won't break me, God as my witness. Past the point of no return, I'm on a mission. Tryna block my blessings, but no need for comparisons. What's from me won't be from me. Yeah, I'ma go through just to grow through. But pay me what you owe me for, I make what you've been saying about me true, true. Tell him I need my money right now. Brought me the juice, they stole out my crown. Yeah. Sorry to tell you, I know my value. I'm gonna recoup, yeah. Don't waste my.
Welcome back, SMITE fans, as we break down how Game 1 went down. I'd say it was just like back and forth, maybe the operative phrase, at least throughout the early portions. But eventually we got to a point where that Anansi Weavers draft just really started to pull ahead. In particular, Diesel has a great performance. Chinfu out of the jungle was medical in his attentions and precise in his initiations, I suppose. I mean, Moswal just wasn't allowed to play as long as Chinfu was making eye contact with him. And when the initiation is looking that good, when you're able to remove these key components of a draft like we saw from the Weavers up against the Wardens, of course the Wardens aren't going to hit pay dirt, but I would argue that the issues arose a little bit earlier than those late game team fights. Anytime one of your members is dropping like a 1-8 or someone's going like 0-5, you might want to address that as an issue. But what did you see, Trelly?
Well, I think, you know, we touched on it a bit, but Geno wasn't able to engage for the squad on this Guan. It just seemed like the rest of the team just did not have enough engage, like linear just CC. Chinfu was able to do this, right? A blink driving strike setup for the squad. He's sort of doing everything himself in this clip, but trust me, late game they were able to follow up on the driving strikes, things like that. When the Guan Yu is using the horse defensively, and that's your best engage tool, or besides like a whoop from Cyno, it's going to be a rough time where you need a linear engage or some sort of CC that's just easy to execute on. RelentlessOne was getting to the backline and being super annoying, and that's why the Wardens were able to win this siege in particular, where Moswal gets the lead before it even starts, then Chinfu turns around 180, throws the boulder, and kills Cyno as well. This looks like a free fight, but since RelentlessOne and oGryph go massive, the game gets delayed a little bit longer. Either way, I think just an easier engage would have helped out the Wardens a ton. They had the damage, it just didn't seem like they could execute the competition late game.
I don't think I've ever seen a boulder hit for 1,000 before, but That's exactly what Chinfu is capable of doing there. This is the last team fight of the game. The Kaolin Wardens had taken the Fire Giant, but at massive cost to themselves. And you bring up initiation, and I think that's a good topic of conversation for the Wardens, because when you look at the draft, you're not lacking in initiation. You can cavalry charge from Guan Yu, all the CC lockdown that RelentlessOne brings on the Shiva, even ranged engage from Cyno's Whoop. But it's the defensive nature of some of these builds, or maybe the offensive nature rather, specifically from NotGeno, that I think cost them mightily. 55,000 damage mitigated, very nice, but I'm thinking with how much he was eating up in some of these team fights, that mitigation number could have gotten a lot higher had he just itemized a bit more towards defense. Because when you evaluate the early, Cyno's off to a phenomenal start, establishes a whole lot of pressure, gets a massive lead in the jungle. That's like a GG right there. That's your win condition when you've got a Freya on your team. But in these late game fights, the front line, well, specifically Geno, just could not survive.
And that's what I'm saying. I think if you're using the horse defensively, you're getting pulled into the team fight and then saying, oh, I'm going to horse out, that's going to be where your issue arose. So I think switching that up, maybe just the build path or a different, draft entirely, could be what the Wardens are looking for here.
We'll figure out whether or not they are going to switch up their draft as we jump into P's and B's for Game 2. The Anansi Weavers, one game away from notching their first win of the phase, first set win. The Kaolin Wardens, trying to meet up at the top of the pack with 4 wins, would like to take this to a full 3-game set. So we'll see if those adaptations come through for the Weavers that allow them to get to that point. First change, Ratatoskr taken off the table. Don't want to deal with that global presence, the initiation. Also just how slippery this rat was in some of these late game fights. Felt like we saw a lot of engagements where 3 or 4 members of the Wardens were chasing RelentlessOne or MandoWarrior rather across the map, and my man just used Dart. He just went up in the air, and it was just so difficult to actually hit pay dirt and confirm those kills.
Yeah, so I think that's going to be a smart one. Still bending away that cleaner, though, putting a little bit more respect on that pick, something that we don't get to see too often anymore, and we will not get to see. And it looks like, again, the Weavers won, right? So they don't have to change up too much about their picks and bans. They aren't first pick, so maybe there's something that they want to hold on to just for the last ban here, and now the Wardens get to go for their last pick. And also, they're not dealing with sops Ullr. Didn't get off to the greatest start. I mean, obviously when, Cyno's popping off on the Freya, looking into mid particular, BIGSLIMTIMMYJIM was not able to find too much success on the Baron early on. Sops wasn't able to find too much success, but as the game went on, and your whole team's looking that good, Ullr was able to provide a ton of range pokes. So now the Wardens are in the position. Do they want to first pick that Chernobog again? It worked out for Griff last time. We'll have to see if they put the same amount of stock into it this time.
Ban roundup as Chernobog is locked in. Ratatoskr, Kleena, and Ullr from the Wardens, and you get the Mercury, Robin, and Erlong Shen banned out by the Weavers. So a lot of frontline presence from both of these teams. Mercury, one that has been consistently banned in the SCC. But when you're talking about auto attack junglers, I feel like the conversation, at least within the last couple months, has been like Mercury, and then like BIGSLIMTIMMYJIM is right up there with them. What happened to BIGSLIMTIMMYJIM? I feel like one day he was top pick, top ban. The next day, he was gone.
Yeah, it seems to be one of those things that has fallen out of favor. The Nemesis just does everything a little bit better. You're not going to farm quite as fast, but you've got that prod shred late game for your team if you want to go for this double hunter comp. The Weavers switch up entirely, right? The Ullr has been replaced with the AMC, and then the Freya being taken away from Cyno if the Wardens did want to go back to that pick. And then the Wardens say, hey, remember that character that's like a top jungle right now in the SPL? Osiris still exists, and he's got a decent matchup into both of those characters, right? The Tether is going to be super annoying for both the AMC and the Freya to deal with. He's going to come online a lot earlier than both of those picks as well. So I like what the Wardens have done here. They've sort of answered the problem they had last game, which wasn't even really a problem, right? It's the early game. What are you going to do in the early? They won the early, and now they've got an Osiris that's going to do the same.
Yeah, so it seems to me the Wardens, it's exactly what we talked about during the initial death segment. They need you to prove that they have to take you seriously. The Wardens are going to do their goofy stuff, and if they go down into the set, then we're bringing out the air quotes cringe picks, the Osiris Mannequins jungle, right? The Khepri in support with Scarab's Blessing, the global presence from this Chernobog, a very strong composition already from the Kaolin Wardens. But I'd argue the Weavers have got some picks that can suit them very, very well. This Freya probably going over to Diesel, fits a similar style as the Chronos. Baron Samedi was pretty decent initiation as well for the Weavers, so get that back with some sustain, some decent peel potential. Could keep the Muzen and the Freya alive in the back line. And you were talking about linear initiation. Doesn't get more simple than like a blink Achilles stun.
Yeah, but what I'm interested in right now is the fact that, BIGSLIMTIMMYJIM possibly on the Baron once again. MandoWarrior never plays warriors. It's like his favorite thing to do is to just not play warriors. So that Achilles probably going to Chinfu in the jungle. So they're still holding on to that last pick there, which could be, you know, a solo lane. It could be anything at this point. The Rat obviously is going to be banned away, so something different. Could be still, the Achilles obviously has the potential to go to the solo lane, but I'm not convinced. Chinfu had such a decent game. But on the flip side, we do see the Chaac locked in. And given the pick, and given the fact that it's Cyno, I would not be surprised if that's the jungle.
So you think we got Osiris in the solo lane and the jungle?
It certainly could be.
I think so as well. I mean, we know Cyno. He wants to be that first guy into the team fight. Blink initiation with Chaac always fits his style very well. Transcendent start means that you can still get a lot of healing, essentially getting effective defense from Transcendence because of the power scaling of the Rain Call. Means that Chaac is going to be very, very survivable for the first couple of levels. We'll figure out where these gods land as we jump into Game 2. The Weavers, again, one game away from closing out this set. The Wardens trying their best to hold on and advance themselves to a Game 3.
Oh,
You're wrong, man. What's up with that?
Well, I said it could be. I didn't say, like, this is 100% the jungle.
Yeah, but you winked when you said it.
Did I?
Yeah.
No, I didn't.
Okay, you can't gaslight me like I saw you.
Well, I didn't wink, so sorry about that, bro.
Okay, all right.
Your tries checked. I didn't wink.
Mifflin and Trelly casting game number 2. Camera work done by Doug. Thank you very much, Doug. Always a pleasure to have you here. You never gaslight me. The Kaolin Wardens have gotten a lot of early aggression across the board. I'm keeping my eyes on Cyno because he's gone towards a slightly different style of build. Feels like every time we see the Osiris, it's just the mannequins. Why do you think he's going towards the Bumbas?
I just think Bumba's Hammer is, you know, the best starter item late game, like, for a tanky warrior, I should say. It's not like, you know, you're going to get the value.
It's pretty good.
No, it's alright. It's not Bumba's Hammer, though.
Yeah,
you're not, like, 1v5ing in the backline, getting true damage, healing every auto attack. That's just not what Mannequin Mace does. And if Chinfu hit level 2 there, Cyno could have been in some trouble. That's a level 1 Hercules, and no driving strike means no being pulled underneath the tower. As it looks like a little bit of presence here in the duo lane. BIGSLIMTIMMYJIM forced into that sprint, and he had to use it right away. Just too much slow happening on the side of the Warden. So Cyno's coming out swinging, though. You know, he came out swinging last game on the Freya, come out swinging on this Osiris. The one issue you have with that pick is the fact that Moswal can't really facilitate too well. With the Merlin, you're not going to be coming online for quite some time. With that tier 2 pendant start as well, you don't have too much mana sustain, too much MP5. Already Moswal's going to be holding on to those abilities.
Yeah, and Cyno's not a massive threat right now either. No Mannequin Scepter means that your auto attacks are really good at clearing jungle buffs with his Bumbas, but maybe not at killing enemy gods. So Sops and Chinfu maintaining presence, and as you said, Merlin not the highest damage output, especially at level 2. Ice Storm only ticking for like 15 damage. I think the Weavers are just allowed to stick around and keep up their engagement, keep up the aggression, and try and confirm some of these mid-camp trade on the first rotation between mid and jungle. Looking at these drafts, Trelly, are you putting any favor towards one or the other in the early game? What portion of the match are both of these teams looking towards?
I mean, they both have the double warrior composition, but the Weavers, as a double whoop comes through from Diesel, the Weavers have AMC, which I think is going to always out-pressure Moswal on this Merlin. So early presence has to go to the Weavers, but Cyno does have the opportunity to get active in the solo lane, and that's where Cyno is right now, waiting to see if Mando uses that dash. Are you going for the blue buff, or are you going for the fight after the fact? Looks like a little bit of both.
The blue buff was the initial call, but with Chinfu turning the corner and MandoWarrior getting the better end of that 1v1, could be a rotation in here. Blue buff secured by MandoWarrior. RelentlessOne dashes in, and Mando, in picking up the buff, maybe walks too far forward. Double pull from Chinfu, keeps his solo laner alive. RelentlessOne tries to finish off the kill with the axe toss, doesn't have access to the teleport any longer. I had thought we would see a rotation from Sops, especially considering how strong red buff is, but Sops decides to solo that one out, and both teams narrowly evade death in that team fight on the right-hand side.
Yeah, definitely good. I mean, you get the beads, which is solid from RelentlessOne, but the driving strike just was not up. If it was, that could have been certainly a double kill, right? Underneath the tier 2 tower, no one's making it out of that one. Just a good pull by Chinfu and the blue buff fight after the fact. So Cyno still is getting active, as you mentioned, the different style of build with the Mannequin Scepter. Maybe your auto attacks are swinging a bit harder there, but playing more so the late game you don't fall off as hard. You're telling me that you think the Mannequin Mace still gives you that burn damage late game, which it does, but I think the Bumba's Hammer just cements your late game is like nice, you know? Like Mannequin Mace is good, Hidden Blade's great, but like Bumba's Hammer is nice. And I would like nod when I say nice. Like that's how good it is.
He's not nodding. He's still gaslighting. That's crazy.
I was nodding. I don't know. I'm
my
tired of this
God,
guy
dude.
already.
Charlie, I am sick of you, bro. I can't tell if I hate Chair 1 or I hate you. Geno, the recipient of the hate from the Anansi Weavers. Diesel is trying to sink some damage in, but a good return damage from Grip and abduct from Geno. This could be a turnaround engagement now that Cyno's made the rotation. Kill credit to Griff. And Cyno takes a tower shot. Chinfu hits him with a blink
so
ball
sick!
and body blocks him into the tower. We saw him try that for 30 minutes straight in game 1. Game 2, he just makes it work.
Bro, he driving striked Cyno, a world champion,
by the way.
in the tower.
That's right.
Then let him walk out.
That's
then
right.
Earthshakered him back in with the blink trick, body blocked him for the second tower shot.
That's right.
I'm a believer of Chinfu on anything at this point. Sign me up. Like no matter what, he could pick Khepri jungle, and I'd be like, he's gonna make it work. Chinfu's sick. That was a dope play. I'm so happy I got to see that.
All right, when Chinfu drops the merch, we'll be picking up some of it on the cast. The hero of the Anansi Weavers as of now, and it seems he realizes that he's gonna have to be dealing a whole lot of damage and showing a lot of presence. Chinfu circling back towards this duo lane. Geno and Griff playing pretty far forward. Initiation from Diesel. And Geno goes for the abduct. This Khepri, an easy target now for the Kaolin Wardens. But with the jungle presence from Chinfu on this side of the map, Cyno able to make his play elsewhere. Sops pulled down. Griff pulled in. And in again. Chinfu just shutting him down.
Yeah, I mean, Griff was dead anyways, but the knock up into the excavate there just looked too clean. All while that happened, Cyno was getting a kill in mid, so Sops did fall down and use the beads, which is unfortunate. If you're gonna die in mid lane against like an Osiris, something that doesn't have too great of an engage, you would love to hold on to those beads for next time. But now Sops is opening himself up to a second gank later on, where that's gonna be even rougher. If the slows connect, could be some trouble. Oh man, we get to watch it again. I'm so happy.
Chinfu pull, blinks in, finds the body block. Cyno just stuck. And the tower finishes that one off. Mechanical mastery from Chinfu on the Hercules jungle. And a treat to watch. What I wouldn't give to keep watching that. I wanted to see him clear the purple buff. Chinfu could watch paint dry, and I'd be entertained. Cyno, this is what was happening during that engagement. Able to pick up Sops in mid. Pretty simple engagement. Curious to see the fire stance, though. I feel like I never see that in the early game from a Merlin.
Yeah, unless you have CDR, the fire stance is almost never worth, especially because it's one of the few abilities that can actually get canceled out of Merlin, right? And if you're losing that tick damage and the cooldowns are so long, you're not going to get too much value. But if you have guaranteed DPS and AMC can't cancel that fire stance, never going to be a terrible option. And it looks like Moswal did go for that Chronos penance. That's probably why we're seeing that aggression. Now we're just looking at a little bit of a stall here. Geno actually going to pluck in. Maybe didn't know that the rest of the squad is here, but Cyno has a ton of damage on the Sops.
Sops dropped low and could not break the tether. Stun immediately into the kill, and Cyno keeping up his aggression. Chinfu and Big Slim on the retreat,
Oh my
but
God.
no way he's doing it twice. Chinfu with a blink pull should be able to finish off that kill. Geno does not have the abduct, so he's got no chance. Big Slim, credit for the kill. But that's all Chinfu, all his work. Diesel now receiving the work. Cyno gonna try his best to connect that sickle. No good. Damage output certainly there from the Osiris, but not enough CC. Freya able to maintain her life. Chinfu can't keep getting away with it. I thought for sure. I was already trying to pick out the flowers. I was going to drop on Moswal's grave, but he's okay. No pool this time.
Bro, Chinfu is recording for his YouTube channel. He's making a highlight montage in an SCC game
What song
on
do
a
you think
team
it
that
is?
has 0 wins, by the way.
What song? Like, what's his montage music?
I don't know, something sick because
It's like Bring Me to Life or something?
yeah, so just anything that is just showing how these plays are being made, as it looks like Cyno is going to be getting aggressive onto BIGSLIMTIMMYJIM. The stun comes through and Griff flies in to confirm that one. The Wardens are not happy that Chinfu has been trying to set up a highlight reel in this game, and they are going to answer back to put themselves in the gold lead. Despite the fact they're down a kill, 4-5 in favor of the Weavers. The gold slightly in favor of the Wardens. And Cyno's not going to sit back by the wayside while Chinfu's going for these attempted ganks. He's also getting active, put Sops down a few times, and now going to find that kill on a BIGSLIMTIMMYJIM.
I wonder what the Wardens are going to be able to do with that time that Big Slim is dead. Can they look towards the gold for you think? It's pretty nice grouping already around it.
Yeah, Griff flew in. You got Moswal's burn. I didn't see how low Cyno was after that kill, but I imagine was pretty healthy. If you have someone to tank it up, they certainly could go for it. But there's one glaring issue in the distance, and that's the fact that Chinfu has been stealing objectives, and he's alive. So whenever I see the Hercules and I look over, the diamond is down. So no steal attempt there, and it looks like the Wardens are happy with just getting, you know, ahead in gold. They're not going to go for that gold free pull just yet. They're just going to get that gank and back it up.
Yeah, let's take a peek at the builds, because I don't think we're going to get many opportunities to do so, considering the pacing of the last couple of games. And the only thing that grabs my eye immediately is Moswal. Chronos Pendant in first slot, Magic Focus in the second, but no starter? You think, normally when you see like the no starter on mages, I'm thinking like he's just going to pick up a Bumbus Hammer in fourth. Do you think that might be what he's looking towards? And if so, how's that look on Merlin?
Well, on Merlin it is actually pretty sick, but when I see the tier 2 start, it's usually a Charon's coin early, and then you just get Sands of Time after that's finished. You're hoping you get some early assists. Moswal has 3, so that could have been a solid bet, but given the Chronos Pendant into the Divine Ruin, you know, there's a few different options Moswal could go for. The only reason I would forego a starter item is to do what you said, go for the Bumbus Hammer. That helps you out with even more cooldowns. And, you know, Merlin late game already has a ton, but it looks like Chinfu is going to find the Driving Strike. No beads from Moswal. We'll just flicker away and hold on to those. Didn't want to waste them for nothing. And since Sops on the same C has some range, but couldn't get to the damage after the fact, will be just fine. So no relics being used, just a little bit of poke heading the way of the mid laner.
Major whiff from Sops, loses out on the Stinger. Had that connected, you are getting the beats off of Moswal, or even potentially his life. Cyno goes in Lord of the Afterlife, connects with Big Slim. No healing for this Baron Samedi. Cyno tries to get behind the wall, unsuccessful. Geno forced to walk in and block that stun. Disengage attempted by the Kaolin Wardens, but you forgot about Chinfu the hero. Double push in into a double tick on the boulder, and now it's Geno left alone in the back line. Diesel makes the rotation. Valkyrie's discretion, all 4 shots land. Now Griff trying to escape, has to go up into the shadow, needs to pick his target, heads over. MandoWarrior nearly executes him on landing, but slightly off the mark on that timing. Griff starting his back. Does MandoWarrior have the first ability? It can connect over the wall, but not quite on the mark. Slow. I think just ticking once from RelentlessOne there. About enough time for his ADC to make his way back to base.
Yeah, RelentlessOne was on peel duty there. I really thought Griff, I mean, the execute off the ult was kind of sick.
That would have been nasty.
Yeah, unfortunately, either missed or got into the wall in time. I wasn't exactly sure which one happened. Griff was aware of that. You get to sort of watch your target as you fly over, so maybe saw it coming and immediately was looking for that wall. But that was a sick attempt. Unfortunately for Mando doesn't go, and RelentlessOne was great on the peel. The rain slow there enough to make sure that Griff's able to back up. But even before that, as we might have a little bit of an issue here by Mando, if Geno hits the root, could be in some trouble. Not too much damage coming from RelentlessOne, and that ultimate, the Storm Call, just came back up.
Mando trying to make his way out of there, but surrounded by 3. That's a pretty easy pick for the Kaolin Wardens. 12 kills in 11 minutes so far this game. The North American SCC says TTK changes be damned. We're going to do whatever we want. That is aggression in the mid lane. Sops and Big Slim lining up against Cyno, Geno, and Moswal. Geno pulled back in, but this Khepri's pretty tanky. Should be able to walk himself out of there. Still has the Scarab's Blessing as well, so not a whole lot of risk here for the Kaolin Wardens. Risk maybe for Cyno on the other side, who tries to line up a red buff invade and instead lines up against Diesel. Yeah, Cyno knows, though. He was playing Freya last time. He knows what this damage output looks like, and it does not look good for the Osiris. Blink's still up for Cyno, so he should be just fine here, unless Big Slim were able to connect that root. Instead, it's just the damage output, and the Weavers, through a solid attempt at the life of Cyno, will just go back to farming.
Yeah, I was keeping my eye on Chinfu's blink, and it's not available at the moment, so I don't think too much chase down was even potential there. I think if Big Slim, hold that thought again, Griff is doing so much damage. Diesel's able to trade back and will not be able to finish Cyno with the Valkyrie's discretion. It looks like going up in the air. Diesel might be in trouble here.
Diesel trying to walk his way out, instead walks in. He's got the lifesteal needed to survive these fights. Cyno uses the revive of Geno to extend his own engagement, but only for a moment. And Big Slim comes in from behind. Griff forced to use those beads pretty early. Walking through towers as a level 9 Baron Samedi does not bode well. Neither does a double kill for Chinfu. If you're a Kaolin Wardens or their fans, the heal comes up just in time too much HP. The Weavers and Chinfu looking real good. Sops, on the other hand, not getting the better end of this 1v1 at first until he just turns it around. World champion, by the way. Moswal, 30 seconds to think about his mistakes. RelentlessOne will at least make them pay. That has got to be a win to the Weavers.
You know, it looks like RelentlessOne is not going to be able to chase down Diesel. So many plays we just witnessed. Chinfu's 5-0 after that heal coming in clutch to make sure that he doesn't get shut down. And then the 1v1 opportunity for Sops and Moswal. Unfortunately, not enough damage to answer that one, so Sops wins that trade.
He's getting owned.
Diesel yeah, he is getting owned a little bit. One whoop could save him, but not going to be enough. RelentlessOne is going to be able to steal that buff away. Actually, no, Diesel got the buff, but RelentlessOne got his life, and I think that's worth a little bit more. Now the Gold Fury is going to be looked at. Griff is here. Chinfu's too far away. It's all up to BIGSLIMTIMMYJIM to try and slow this one down.
Hey, Gold Fury might be able to fight its own battles. RelentlessOne dropped real low. Cyno just creating space, keeping Chinfu at bay. Lord of the Afterlife used there, but it's the Weavers who steal it away. Big Slim, a.k.a. Cope, a.k.a. Mr. Objectives, takes it away from the Kaolin Wardens. Now the Wardens, and specifically Chino, looking for a little bit more, maybe bit off more than he can chew. MandoWarrior in first. Remember, even though you have got the revive, it doesn't work against the execute. MandoWarrior takes him off the map, but the hero Chinfu has to pay the price. 30 seconds of grayscale for the Hercules, but it's still the Weavers in a proactive position. MandoWarrior ult just for distance. Griff on the retreat. No dash is available. If Sops can connect this slow, could be the Chernobog's life. Additional movement speed there. Slow, no good, but the catch-up is there. Stinger connects, as does all the damage. Sops, credit for the kill.
The Weavers, man, they are on fire this set. Number 2 going for the Pyromancer. At the moment, they have some good amount of damage from Sops, given the fact that he's got that Crusher, some auto-attack DPS, as RelentlessOne is walking up towards this Pyromancer. Given the fact that it hasn't went down that quick, could have a chance to throw an axe and go for the 50-50, but it is going to be a little bit too slow, so the Weavers not only going to win that fight, they're also going to get the Pyromancer after the fact. And BIGSLIMTIMMYJIM stole that Gold Fury right before the fact, so 3K, give or take, gold in favor for the Weavers. Again, I gotta highlight, this is the number 2 seeded team, the Wardens, and the Weavers are still struggling trying to get that first set win.
If memory serves, it's a 3-1 Kaolin Wardens up against the 0-3 Anansi Weavers, still looking for their first win of the phase, as you said, and they're in a good position as of now, 15 minutes into Game 2, with a significant lead. I'm keeping my eyes on this Freya build, especially considering how that 1v1 with RelentlessOne went a little bit earlier. He just got owned, and that was before the Oni Hunter Garb was finished. You didn't really have a whole lot of magic defense. Now that you've got Demonic Grip on Diesel, I'm thinking that 1v1's going to look a little different.
Yeah, a little bit. The attack speed slow is just so annoying. You don't have too much built if you are Diesel at the moment. I mean, obviously, finishing Demonic Grip is going to give you a bit more.
He got tree rings, bro.
He's got 3 rings.
Tree rings.
Call him Zapman.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. I like that.
I appreciate it.
Zapman plays that god too. There's levels to that.
Yeah, you got it's a thinker, but I think it.
I don't know if I'd call it a thinker.
All right, well, still, I'm going to take the compliment and move on so I don't look even dumber as we continue this. And it looks like Cyno did go for the Executioner, shredding some prots for the other physical damage dealers on his team, being that RelentlessOne and Griff. They're all going to get some value out of that if you're fighting together, but it looks like Diesel is going to try and chase down Griff here. One slow auto attack in the Hasten Ring could be enough, but Chinfu is getting ulted.
Chinfu would be a phenomenal pick for the Kaolin Wardens, but not going to be easy to get that one. RelentlessOne uses the ultimate, but that's about all they use besides the blink. So Chinfu is able to survive this time around, should be able to resustain in the jungle and then rejoin his team for yet another engagement. Geno now, surrounded by 3, has to have ducked out, pulled back in twice. Hold off on it, make sure that stun's good. Further displace him, pushing him all the way towards the center of the lane. Scarab's Blessing used, buys us some time, and nearly saves his life. If Diesel could connect one shot, that would be it. It isn't. Chinfu walks into the tower, costs him his own life, and now the Anansi Weavers up against 5 of the Kaolin Wardens. Should be looking for the disengage, but it's a slow one. They're keeping up the fight. Cyno's in. Lord of the Afterlife connects with Sops. And it does force the Anansi Weavers back just a couple of steps, but it's actually MandoWarrior keeping the engagement up for his team. Cyno not dropped into the execute threshold. MandoWarrior has to turn on a dime, find a different target. 1-for-0 trade. Chinfu falls down.
Yeah, Cyno got a little bit over-aggressive there on the sops. Remember, he's a level 13 and RelentlessOne. With no Fatal Strike available for Mando, shouldn't be in too much trouble here. And Mando was real close to finding that Executor. There's probably one more auto attack, one more tick of damage, but you don't want to Fatal Strike in after, you know, if you're not going to get that kill, and it looks like just backing off. So Chinfu, the only casualty of war this time around. Geno living by a hair after it looked like Diesel might have been able to clean that one up with the Valkyrie's discretion. The Khepri shield coming in clutch. And I think that whoop was solid. Maybe if it was an Earthbreaker into the Excavate could have finished that kill, but just the ult and no double tap was not enough to put the Khepri down. So now a solid answer back for the Wardens, and the gold lead is going a little bit more in their favor, but still the Weavers are standing tall. And a little bit of an XP differential in some of these roles as well. Diesel having a level lead. BIGSLIMTIMMYJIM just ticked over to 13, so level lead there. Moswal and Sops have been pretty even, and Cyno just got up to level 15 as well, so equalized some of that. Was level 13 before that engagement, so the Osiris was getting a bit out-farmed, given the fact that Chinfu has 5 kills to his name.
Charlie, I gotta ask you, and this is a question David asked me originally. What's the difference between diff and differential? Like, is it a respect thing? Like, what makes you choose between the two?
I think diff is just, you know, cleaner and easier to say, as, you know, BIGSLIMTIMMYJIM goes up into the ult and trying to get a support diff, I suppose.
Does find Chino with the pull-in. Heal good for the team. MandoWarrior has made the rotation. Gotta remember, doesn't matter how good your Scarab's Blessing is if the execute connects, so Chino uses the abduct to avoid it. Chinfu blinks in, finds the punch, but loses out on 90% of his HP instantly. Moswal flickers forward, connects the kill, so Chinfu falls down. Cyno does whiff at the cost of his own life. Diesel able to pick that one up. MandoWarrior forced to reset to base, but has the teleport available, can rejoin his team at a moment's notice. Blink forward from RelentlessOne, tries to find the slow, does not connect. Big Timmy Slim Jim does fall down. RelentlessOne not too far behind him. Diesel just needs a couple of auto attacks. Moswal finds one more, so it's a 2v2 between the Anansi Weavers and the Kaolin Wardens. But the two of the Weavers are moving forward into the tower. Can Diesel find the whoop? Not the case this time around. Maybe you can reset to the Pyro or the Gold Fury, though. With both Diesel and Mando so healthy, you gotta think there's an opportunity. Geno dashes forward. You sure you want that, bud? Freya does a whole lot of damage. Fatal Strike not good. The auto attacks are. Would have needed that stun on the Moswal to stop that Fire Stance First ability, but you're a little busy finishing off the support. So at the end of the day, 4 for 4.
But it looks like Cyno's on the way, and Mando is going to try and tie for this, and he's not going to get the kill on the Moswal, so he will fall down. I mean, it was just consistent trade after consistent trade. Then Mando realized Cyno's only level 15, so that respawn a little bit slower than he might have expected. And once again, the Wardens get the better trade at the end of that fight, pushing that gold ever so close. And you know, we were hypothesizing what it was Moswal was going to get for that starter, not going for the Bumbus Hammer, actually going for the Tainted Steel, so a little bit worried about the possible Bumbus Hammer coming from Chinfu, just the heal that BIGSLIMTIMMYJIM has. Mando's got some sustain as well, just a fair bit of healing throughout, so Moswal wanting to deal with that as Big Slim has a chance to steal this one away. He did last time, and he's going to be going for it again.
It's dropped low, but a little too late from Big Slim this time. The Kaolin Wardens able to secure themselves an objective, but at no cost, or at some cost rather. Pyromancer on the other side should keep the game just about even. The Anansi Weavers still have got experience and a paltry sum of gold. Call it like, I don't know, 50 gold per person. Not a whole lot. So, difference in wards on the map, I suppose, as we start to approach the Fire Giant dance. Do you think one of these teams has got the advantage over the other once we do start looking at the fire?
If the Oni minions get, you know, cleared out here, as it looks like Diesel is going for that, someone's going to have to stop Griff if he wants to go for the split push, and since there's not really any global presence on the side of the Weavers except for Mando's teleport, that could give them an edge. Unless you're not worried about the tower. See, let's see how Diesel passes. He runs right to the Fire Giant here. Griff actually flies in first, so Mando's going to be forcing that Fatal Strike early on.
MandoWarrior on the retreat has taken so many ultimates. 3 from the Kaolin Wardens. Now Big Slim trying to get them inside the tower, but it seems like that's exactly where the Wardens would like to go. Damage output is there, and Big Slim in some trouble, but the Wardens reset themselves to taking down the actual structure. Tier 2 on the solo side will fall down. Anansi Weavers still hovering nearby. They walk into the jungle, it's just a death trap. Geno setting up for the abduct, but thank you, Doug. Ward established by the Weavers, so they realize it and take the slower pathing towards the jungle fight. Fire Giant's certainly an option, as MandoWarrior's got 20 seconds on the respawn. But if the Weavers can slow him down, Mando's got the heroic teleport available. Chinfu in first, just enough to pull the attention of the Wardens away. They're looking for the engagement. It's Diesel putting out a good deal of damage up into the Valkyrie's discretion, worried about RelentlessOne, and can you blame him? That 1v1 earlier went to RelentlessOne easily. The Kaolin Wardens may have waited a bit too long, though, because MandoWarrior has rejoined the fight. Beats force from Moswal, and Mando's got a clear target. Third ability misses. Geno nearly gets pulled back in. It's the Weavers now with a slight advantage insofar as HP pools. They might throw around their weight around this tier 1.
Yeah, and they were able to get Moswal's beats thanks to a nice pull by Chinfu, and it looks like tier 1 tower could be getting looked at here. As RelentlessOne has the wraparound. Not sure if he wants to teleport into this and just uses the rain slow. Now he doesn't have any more movement abilities, and he gets whooped here.
Diesel put some damage in, but the silence is back up for RelentlessOne, separates the fight a bit, and he is so tanky. Big Slim would love to pull anybody else in, but in doing so, has left himself alone. The Weavers try to work their way in to help their support, but too little, too late. The Kaolin Wardens moving forward. We've seen it before. Griff up in the air. Everybody slow. Teleport in. Cyno and Griff acting as a two-man core against the 3 of the Anansi Weavers. CC no good from Diesel. He has to turn around and just fight. Crits landing from Griff. Damage output onto Cyno drops him low. Minions finish him off, but luckily Scarab's blessing there to keep him alive. 2 for 0 trade, and the Kaolin Wardens do what they did last time. Reset, pull the Fire Giant, and check whether or not the Weavers are going to stick around.
Mando doesn't have Blink, doesn't have Beat, is going to walk into the trap that Moswal and Geno have set for him, so the Fire Giant should be going down relatively free, and it will. The Wardens have come out swinging off the back of, in my eyes, RelentlessOne. He's been so, you know, no pun intended, relentless in the back line, just slowing these auto attackers on the side of the Weavers. They really aren't able to get their full DPS off just because of how tanky this Chaac has been. Moswal's been doing a hefty chunk of damage and getting credit for most of these last hits. And honestly, it seems like Geno's been the target more often than not. The Weavers are trying to get aggressive onto this Khepri before the fight starts, but they have not been able to whittle that health bar down and find the execute. Mando either goes a little bit too early and heals through, or hasn't been able to land those fatal strikes to get the credit for those kills and the reset on that ultimate. Now, though, the Wardens, they've got the gold lead in their favor, they've got the kill lead in their favor, and they've got the Fire Giant. A ton of towers to go through, though. Still tier 1 standing in mid and left. Would love to get those tier 2s to try and extend that gold lead a little further and finish up some of these last tier items and upgrade those starters.
What's the siege look like for the Kaolin Wardens? Is it just like an all-in engagement? Is it RelentlessOne blinking in? Are you more so just trying to get these structures down, ignoring the kills? How do you think they approach this?
I imagine RelentlessOne blinks to the backline, tries to waste out the life of the party from BIGSLIMTIMMYJIM. After that, you get the Phoenix and get out. I don't think the fight should last much longer than that. With the first FG being only 26 minutes into the game, I don't imagine you're going for the Titan after the fact. And here we go. RelentlessOne will blink to the backline.
RelentlessOne blinks in, but it is the fight that the Kaolin Wardens have got their eyes on. Big Slim and Mando creating some space around the tier 2, which has taken no damage as of yet. Sops forced to reset himself, maybe all the way in a body bag. RelentlessOne TP's in, but this time doesn't have the help of his team. The tier 2 does fall, but slowly, and at the cost of the Chaac. Anansi Weavers still 5 strong, and with Diesel on the chase, he's got a lot of rings to play with. Could just look for the whoop. Has to break this tether. Cyno blinks in, realizes, oh yeah, Freya hits real hard. Maybe I don't want to be here. MandoWarrior rejoins the fight, but Chinfu has displaced them all. The Kaolin Wardens grouped up as 4, and the Anansi Weavers sinking their damage in. Diesel just now getting some return fire and actually removed from the map. Cyno, credit for the kill this time, and reset by the Scarab's blessing. 3 members of the Anansi Weavers on the retreat. Kaolin Wardens moving forward. Griff connects the ultimate, lands in front. MandoWarrior able to stun him off. Still waiting on a bit more CC, and there it is. Cyno, double ultimate. Should be able to finish off the kill on the Sops, but the heal from Big Slim keeps him alive and keeps everybody alive, actually, for the Weavers. They're rallying around this Phoenix. Mando has been dashed in on by Moswal. Big Slim can't do it on his own, but luckily Sops has already made the reset. Unfortunately for Slops, he just tagged out with Big Slim, so goes in alone, dies alone. Griff, credit for the kill, and the Kaolin Wardens with Fire Giant on 3 have taken off the mid-Phoenix.
Yeah, it seemed like a decent chase through, but Chinfu still didn't have that Bumba's Hammer online and just gets deleted by the damage from Moswal. Then The Wardens are feeling pretty good. Griff's able to fly down, chase, and although the kills didn't drop down at first, even underneath that Phoenix, a stalled fight goes the way of the Wardens. You get that bird, Sops runs back in and immediately dies, and now the Wardens are able to back up and spend some of that gold they were able to get after that Fire Giant went through. Still about 30 seconds on the power play, so the FG buff will fall off in a little bit. Possibly looking for that Primal Fury are the Weavers actually, but looks like RelentlessOne and oGryph are onto this, and they're not going to let it go for free.
Primal Fury yet to be pulled. RelentlessOne still hovering nearby. Has now taken the objective for himself. But the Weavers, with only 3 members nearby, probably will not put up a defense. You really don't want to lose your life here. Would likely lose another Phoenix with this Fire Giant power play. So instead, Primal Fury just going to be a free pickup for the Kaolin Wardens. And honestly, not worst case scenario for the Weavers, losing out on a Phoenix. If I had to choose one, I wouldn't choose the mid. I'd probably choose the right, but mid second choice, and should be easy enough to defend if you want to show up around the Fire Giant. But what do you think needs to change in these Weaver team fights? It feels like we hit a weird inflection point within the last 6 minutes where the damage output just hasn't quite been there. What's changed? Why aren't the Weavers able to finish off their kills?
Yeah, it seems like Chinfu just like forewent farming for a bit to try and find help in these team fights. Has been getting pretty deleted. Now that the Bumbus Hammer and the Heartseeker is online, I expect to see cleaner pulls. They're up more often, stuff like that. And Sops needs to be landing those stingers as much as possible off the setup. And again, Mando found like a couple executes this game. If you can focus out one target and just find that fatal strike, I think it would change the whole course of this match. I gotta highlight it because I just saw Diesel actually going for the Archmage's gem on Freya instead of that gem of focus. Just going for the one tap big burst damage instead of the the stacking mitigations at speed. But Cyno, speaking of speed, is just blendering in the backline.
Cyno's taking a whole lot of damage though, and in the 1v1 against Chinfu, Chinfu comes out ahead. Sops loses to oGryph, and Cyno with the Scarab's Blessing has stepped forward yet again. Sprout picks with 5, but it does eventually cost Cyno his life. It's healthy Kaolin Wardens against the weakened Anansi Weavers. Chinfu falls down, and Diesel not so far behind him. Big Slim has not got a snowball's chance in hell at surviving, is what I would have said had he not survived, but he did exactly that. Who cares, though? The Baron Samedi is not the major part of your defense. The Kaolin Wardens have got a 5-minion wave in the Titan room. MandoWarrior going to try his best to defend. Big Slim finally makes his way back to base. The Titan not taking a whole lot of damage just yet. MandoWarrior, on the other hand, has taken a whole lot of damage and will fall down. I said earlier that Big Slim didn't have a snowball's chance, and I meant now, Future Sight and all that. Kaolin Wardens push us to 3.
Yeah, just so much damage coming out from Moswal in these stances. Of course, oGryph topping the damage charts with those crits, 10 and 4 on the Cherno, but every time I saw the stance switch from Moswal, a kill was happening. The flame stance as well, if you're not able to cancel out that damage, just does so much. Unfortunately, once again, Mando off the mark on the fatal strike. Cyno was able to get a kill with Scarab's Blessing on him because that execute couldn't come through. Given the fact that Osiris is just like real sneaky and can slip in and out of the bodies in that corporal form, I understand that it's hard to hit, but you got to be landing those if you're picking that into the Khepri.
And we'll hear the rest of Trelly's thoughts right after this break.
The vibe is massive, it's supernatural. Keep it factual, know you're maxing back. Look at the way they hold they chat. Honestly amazing, I want you on occasion. I can do you favors that I know you won't do for. Yeah, yeah. I know what you wanted, you got it gorgeous. You're bad, you're tugging, it's telling me nicely. Just ease it up on me, I'm fighting the feeling. I'm keeping it cordial, yeah. I want you closer, you know where you started. You know that I need it. I can see it in your eyes, the way you move is so amazing. You say what I wanna hear, tell me it's all for me. Just show me you want it. You're ready, you say you're ready for it. You're ready, what are we waiting on? I know it's on your mind. You're ready, you want it for. You've heard some things people talk like they know the real me.
Welcome back to the SCC, the Kaolin Wardens up against the Weavers in a Game 3 situation. And what a great way to start today. The broadcast of competitive SMITE with a full game set. I'm hoping we get another perfect day. 3 into 3 into 3. Well, we at least got the first one. Earlier I said we'd get the rest of Trelly's thoughts and what he thought went down in Game 2. So let's do just that. Trelly, what happened, bro?
Well, the Weavers came out swinging, and we got to see those sick pulls in from Chinfu. Unfortunately, the Hercules fell off a little bit about level 17.
We're not
right
going to get to
before.
see him now.
That's what I'm saying. We don't get to see those plays because you don't get to see the highlights of the losers. So the Weavers are going to have to sit back, and maybe he can make some nice plays after. But you know who? While that was happening, I believe while this kill is going through, there's going to be some other plays happening, and that's the Weavers. The Wardens, rather. Cyno is able to get active on this Osiris, dive to the backline, get the Scarab's blessings more often than not. And as long as he wasn't executed, was able to find so many kills. This Osiris pick is just able to shred through the backline, and this is what happened. Like, you got res, and you can come back, and you should be just fine. So I'm thinking maybe ban out the Khepri next time, or just, I don't know, find more CC into the comp to make sure those Fatal Strikes are landing.
Yeah, something, because those Fatal Strikes were good. The first couple we saw connected. Other than that, I think MandoWarrior really was struggling to find those priority targets. I feel like maybe a bit of tunnel vision at times, like, yes, you want to remove the Khepri. Yes, you can execute them. But also, like, you can execute anybody that's got Scarab's Blessing on them. You don't necessarily need to do it to Khepri specifically. So, yeah, maybe some adaptations in play on field for the Anansi Weavers as we move on into Game 3. You bring up the Khepri ban. You really think that's it? Because I feel like Moswal maybe deserves some credit this game as well. I mean, watch the highlights. Almost every single one was him flickering forward. And if you're 9-2-11, 20 affected kills, and you're flickering forward, I'm thinking maybe you're a threat.
No doubt. I mean, Griff and Moswal were doing tons of damage, but I think because Cyno was facilitated by the Khepri, Cyno goes to the backline, takes a lot of the eyes off the carries, and then they're able to essentially free cast. The one time we saw Moswal really take some flack was at the end of that long-winded fight in mid where it seemed like, okay, it's a 3v3, now it's a 2v2, then it was the 2v1, and then Osiris comes in off the back and is able to help out. What's with the look?
Geno out-healed BIGSLIMTIMMYJIM.
That's benevolence, man.
But that guy's got a heal in his kit.
He was missing. I don't know what to tell you.
Gotta be hitting your abilities if you want him to do something, I suppose. I've never seen that. I've never seen a Khepri out-heal a healer, especially a Baron Samedi with as much fighting as was happening in Game 2. That is a strange stat line in what is already a pretty strange set. I believe it was that game where we saw everybody at like 5% HP at one point, just fighting back and forth too. Both these teams after each other's necks. The Weavers now find themselves in the first pick position. They take off Erlong Shen and Mercury. The Wardens in second pick say, hey, Robin's looking pretty good. Mitigation builds are pretty lame, so we're not going to play against that. Also, your Ratatoskr kind of bopped us in Game 1. Maybe we'll forget about it next week, but this week we're going to ban it.
So thus far, the Freya has lost every game. And actually, it looks like the Weavers did put some respect onto that Khepri I was talking about, and they will ban that away. So Gina's going to have to play something else and possibly force Mando onto something else because the Achilles isn't going to get as much value. You could still play it, of course. It's still a good pick. But into Khepri, I think it just gets more value. The Chernobog, however, is going to be taken away. Griff's not going to get to play that a third time. So that's good, I think. Making sure that, you know, you get Diesel on something that he's pretty comfortable on. He's been playing those magical ADCs, Game 1, Chronos, Game 2. The Freya now gets to play Chernobog. Let's see how those crits get to swing.
And you've been talking about this Nemesis the entire set. The topic of conversation in every single one of these Ps and Bs, and the Wardens finally find it for themselves, flanked by a Heimdall. Last time we've seen Heimdall played was in mid. Didn't love that personally. I'm thinking it's probably not going to mid this time. What are you seeing from this top 2 from the Wardens?
I mean, I see Nemesis is just going to farm very well and is just strong into most drafts as long as you're not running into an Ullr axe in this case. I only see 2 picks, but I see one thing that could break the shield. You're going to have a good time absorbing some of those auto attacks and just shredding procs for the rest of the team. Well, picking this Nemesis opens you up to have a heavy physical comp, and you don't really get all the negatives of that. You can still just get the prod shred, but Moswal's one of the premier mage players in the SCC, so we could still see something interesting in the back. We've seen the Outpost and the Merlin. One I wouldn't like to see, the Merlin had a great performance, and the Bastet is going to be locked in here, so probably RelentlessOne on the Bastet solo, and then Cyno taking that Nem into the jungle.
A lot of damage already from the Warden's draft, but a bit late game slanted, I'd argue. Anytime you've got a standard hunter, of course, you want to get that crit chance available before your team fighting. Bastet needs to stack up that Soul Eater in the solo lane, probably Transcendence as well. And considering it's Cyno, he's one of the best Nemesises to have ever done it. Yeah, that's what he did his Worlds run on, was a whole lot of this god, so certainly adept at playing it. But recently has gone towards slower builds. I've seen him go Transcendence first slot Nemesis, foregoing that Golden Blade until second or third. So excited to see which version of Cyno we get and what style of build we see from this Nemesis. Baron Samedi, 4th overall for the Wardens. Bit of healing, maybe less than what a Khepri could have done, but certainly some healing there regardless. Strong initiation, but I would still say lacking an initiation for the Wardens. You don't have a standard soul laner, assuming this Bastet is going to solo. What would you like to see to round out this draft to make it a little bit easier for the Wardens to play out?
I think, I mean, I just zoned out because I see what I'm assuming is Sylvanus jungle or Cerberus jungle, because Chinfu has been running around the rank scene playing a lot of Kuzenbo jungle. And
he played Sylv jungle last week.
Yeah, so I'm thinking that's going to be the Sylvanus jungle because you got the double hunter. Sops got the Ullr banned away from him, so he's been playing pretty solid on that. I don't think the Wardens are lacking in initiation, to answer your question. As long as the Huntress of Bast is landing, as long as you're probably picking one target, using that Retribution, just shredding prots, and then just chain CC. You've got Huntress of Bast, you got Life of the Party, and you can send them through the realm. So that's probably the initiation. It's single target, so you better win the fight after the fact.
Yeah, I'm thinking so. A whole lot of single target CC, and some of that single target CC coming from your hunter. So if he's starting the fight, you've probably already won it. The Kaolin Wardens looking to close this one out in a reverse sweep. The Anansi Weavers desperate to find their first win of the phase, and it is Chinfu on the Sylvanus jungle again. Last time he did it, I clowned him for an entire hour straight, and he dominated the entire time. I looked like an absolute fool, so I'm not falling for it this time. It might look goofy, but it's got some merits.
Well, did you see the J Dragons did a highlight reel of all their streams, and they uploaded it, I think, yesterday. And Chinfu was montaging Final K, I think, twice with the Kuzenbo jungle, the Nenes bouncing off the walls, things like that. So he's got these Guardian jungles in the back pocket, not just, you know, up in the rank scene against some of the best solo laners in the league, so I'll trust him. You know, you told me that he dominated. That's true. I'm not saying like Final K was trying his hardest. He was on like Circuit solo, so it wasn't like that great. But the point is, he hits those. So maybe the pulls are on point. Chinfu going the mannequin build should help him out in the clear, and I expect to see some one-shot potential. Cyno's got the shield though, so if you just wait out the initial Wrath of Terra, you should be able to immune the rest of that damage of the wisps and things.
Cyno, early presence over towards the dual lane, has gone for the long flank. But Big Slim and Diesel still relatively safe. Much easier target, lumbering his way through the jungle right now. Chinfu.
He's a tree.
Starting to work. Yes, starting to work his way over to the left-hand side. Gets spotted out and decides to disengage. Good communication from the rest of his team to let him know that he had a couple running him down. Dash down for Mineral, and pull is good. He went for the root first though, so hasn't got much left to finish off that fight. Had he done it in reverse order, you're probably at least getting the beads off of Moswal, but he's just fine.
Yeah, the Thoth has the Baron's Brew, going to be able to sustain up and didn't take too much damage off the pull, so shouldn't be too big of an issue. While that was happening, it looked like Cyno was going to go for those mids, and then saw his mid laner get pulled back in and was like, wait, I'm going to help you out. Mando, however, is taking a ton of damage on this right side of the map. RelentlessOne on this Bastet, one of his favorite solo picks, and a leap into the cat would find the kill, but it looks like it wasn't have the leap available.
Cyno now in some trouble. Moswal dashes back towards the tower. If Sops can connect the hail of arrows, that should be first blood, and it is. Chinfu would like a little bit more. Dash not up for Cyno, not for a couple of seconds. Now, able to get back into that tower. Chinfu, not the most burst damage possible on a jungler right now, but he can certainly deal with some buffs. Diesel could do with some help, has got it from Big Slim. Skirmishes on both sides of the map, but it's a jump in from Big Slim. Cerberus getting active, but doesn't have much of the kit left and available, so that should spell the end of the engagement. Both teams poking and prodding, but it's the Weavers who get first blood.
Yeah, unfortunately, Chinfu did lose out on that back camp invade, just wasn't able to keep Cyno from hitting level 3, which means the blue buff invade also not going to be in your favor. Mando doesn't have too much HP, so we'll just go for their own blue buff, and then the Sylvanus will lumber over to the speed buff as well.
Because he's a tree.
Yeah, that's nice. So he's just going to be farming up and playing this a little bit slower. Once you hit level 5, I think your gank gets a lot better. Has the blink available. There is a world where Moswal just outranges you. Make sure you never are able to blink and you just can't get close because you've built full damage Sylvanus. But Chinfu probably is recognizing that and should be able to play around that fact once a level 5 comes through. And given the fact that Sops is on point with that Hail of Arrows, has the Axe combo as well, Moswal probably not wanting to step up in this lane.
So maybe the late game engagement almost turns into like an FPS in that whoever sees the other one first between Moswal and Chinfu will likely win the 1v1. Geno in a bit of trouble here. Has to juke out this stun, does so, but still dropped incredibly low. Is able to resustain a fair bit and reset himself back towards his tower. But at the cost of the Heavenly Sprint means that next time it happens, it won't be so easy to disengage with the Kaolin Warden support. I'm keeping my eyes on Chinfu, and I'm glad Doug's doing it too, because by this time, last time he had played Sylvanus, he had already killed Oceans like 5 times. So I'm trying to see that version of the Sylvanus. The pools have been there, the roots have been there, the damage has not.
Yeah, I think the issue now is the fact that you don't have a great target on the map at the moment. You're not ganking RelentlessOne like Bastet. It's just far too safe unless she's ulting in, you know, jumping on every wave, which we see the leap, but as long as the Hundreds of Bastards available and that feeds, I don't think you find too much kill potential there. Moswal is certainly your best target, and that's why we see Chinfu in the mid lane consistently looking for the Thoth, trying to force out the beads. Look for, you know, if he ever dashes on the wave, which I don't think Moswal would do, but if he did,
he's been doing it.
Yeah, that's what you're really looking for. And in duo lane, if you don't kill Geno off the initial Ratatoskr, you're probably getting life of the party into tower, so that's why the duo lane's not going to look that great either. Griff just Gallarhorns the ult and then teleports away. Moswal is your target, just that's it. Unless Cyno also is, like, you find him. Those are your 2 targets, so Chinfu is going to be looking for those. And he'll probably hang around the mid lane for the rest of this game until, like, I don't know, level 9. Then he can look elsewhere.
Yeah, maybe a couple more items. That burst potential starts to pick up. We've seen what that ultimate can do. When you've got the Soul Reaver, you get a Polynomicon as well. The burst potential certainly there. Not the easiest to apply for Sylvanus, as you said. Relatively low range, doesn't have the most mobility, pretty easy to keep him at bay. Very dependent on the blink to start off his fight, so if that relic is down for Chinfu, you might as well consider Chinfu down as well. Big Slim has got 3 right ahead of him. Good stun, defense shredded, but the Cerberus healthy, and it's Chinfu in first, connects with Cyno, damage output is there, shield keeps him alive for a second, but this is what the Sylvanus has been waiting for. You step too far forward, you get sent to the air, you land in a grave.
Yeah, and BIGSLIMTIMMYJIM able to bait out the rest of the squad as well. Just, you know, keep following me. Come to the jungle. It's a little bit closer where I got my Sylvanus jungle waiting just for this exact moment. As we mentioned, if the shield comes down before that Ratatoskr, you're simply not living that, and so much damage coming out from Sops as well. You always gotta watch out for the Ullr combo after the fact. So this Sylvanus jungle got off to a good start. Is actually a level up on Cyno at the moment. And so is Sops. So the mid 2v2 looking pretty good for the side of the Weavers, whereas everyone else has been just farming away, like not too much action on the side lanes. BIGSLIMTIMMYJIM is going to ult for the Horn, which don't really think that's a great trade, but Griff isn't afraid. He's fighting into this.
Yeah, maybe Big Slim just going for the knowledge check. Hey, you know how this interaction works? You could just Gjallarhorn it, and Griff says, yeah, and I'm going to be doing that, and he does. So, ultimate for second ability. Seems like Gjallarhorn's already back up. Let's check in with Big Slim. Doesn't even have the first pie slice of his ultimate. So yeah, I agree, Charlie. Maybe a good trade for the ADC.
Yeah, I think Griff's pretty happy with that one, and will just be able to continue farming because Diesel does not have too much presence on that pick. You know, the Chernobog will be able to fight into the Heimdall late game, but at the moment, your abilities aren't swinging that hard. And Griff actually went for the Blood Forge, so has a ton of damage. Diesel would love to have that Transcendence already stacked up. That would change the fight a little bit, but since it's only about 15 stacks on that, you know, Griff's going to get the better of those trades more often than not. Moswal, however, did go for the Chronos Pendant Sands of Time start, so this Thoth should just be wailing away with those hieroglyphic assaults. As long as, again, isn't getting completely poked out by Chinfu and sops respectively, should be able to stay back and just spam those abilities. That's what Thoth does best. Has only fallen once thus far in 8 minutes, so I think he's going to be doing all right.
Talk to me about this Blood Forge, Trelly. Are you of the mind that he could just afford it, so he did? I'll ask you after this fight. We can check in and see whether or not MandoWarrior survives this engagement. Hunters of Vast able to CC him pretty well. MandoWarrior gets inside his own tower, buys time for Chinfu to rotate through, and he plays it perfect. Absolutely perfect play from the Sylvanus jungle. Says, I don't need to use any more abilities on Cyno. Tower's got this guy dead to rights. Connects everything on a RelentlessOne. Have to give some credit to MandoWarrior, though. He's the one that facilitates that entire engagement. But Chinfu rotates in and makes it look good.
Bro, call this man Dove Soap. He is so clean. I don't know how else to say it.
Sponsored,
He didn't
by the way.
waste. Oh, that's definitely not sponsored. And Moswal dashing in. Probably wished he dashed out.
That's an input error for sure.
Yeah, I think he might have been just turned around. And, you know, with the ultimate, or there actually wasn't any ultimate, so he just got stunned and, like, did the old whoopity-wop, and unfortunately dashed in.
Excuse me?
The whoopity-wop, you know? When you dash in, everyone knows that. Come on.
Define it. Is whoopity wop a noun? Is that a verb?
It's what Moswal did just then. If we get to see it later on, I'll explain to you exactly when the whoopity-wop occurred. Either way, you know, when you're Rama and you accidentally, like, get turned around and you dash in, that's whoopity-wop.
What do you, and when you say when you get turned around, like a Merkel? Like
There's a few things that can make you turn around. I don't know. It's like anything in general.
Like what?
Like, why else would Moswal dash in there if he didn't get whoopity-wop?
Understood. Moswal, interacting with a new mechanic and SMITE gets whoopity-wopped. I think I would just call that misinput personally, but I'm a chair one, and that means I'm dumb. So I'll have to defer to you on that, Trelly. Clean whoopity-wop execution from the Weavers.
Yeah, they made sure to get another kill onto Moswal, and the beats were available too, so at least he holds on to those, so shouldn't be in any more danger for the time being. And it looks like Diesel will have to use the beats of his own, because Griff getting a little bit aggressive here. With the Horn slow, would probably force Diesel, and the ult doesn't have the Gjallarhorn, and Diesel should be able to walk out of here. Does have the ult available if he wants to teleport back in, look for an engage after the fact. But Griff just swinging so hard.
Sops connects with Cyno, and Cyno dropped to 50% before he's even allowed to play the game in this engagement. So Nemesis probably done with the fight for a fair bit. I agree, Doug. Let's keep the camera on Chinfu. That guy goes absolutely nuts. I'm just waiting for him to rotate into another engagement. Yeah, this is what he does. This is what the heroes do when you're not looking at them. Speed buff, and it takes a while.
Should we never meet Chinfu? You don't want to meet your heroes.
Well, I do. I want to meet him.
I would like to meet him and see what was going through his head when he made all these plays. Cyno is hiding in this Harpy camp, but it looks like BIGSLIMTIMMYJIM is going to jump in 1v3, get that retribution, and say, all right, never mind. Just walk out. It looks like the chase won't
Diesel? Are you sure about that? Dashes into the back line, and nobody does anything about it. Diesel's like, I'm just trying to get the wave, bro. This is the fastest way I can get back on the map. And I suppose he's just right, but then he goes to base immediately afterward. I suppose worried about the rotation path back towards his lane, and rightfully so, as Cyno had set up an ambush on that left-hand side. So Diesel ults in, walks out, goes back to base, and then walks back to lane.
Yeah, I mean, that's what you got to do at this point. Just, you went so far,
Yep.
you got out.
That's right.
And you're taking the slow way back to base. And Cyno is here. I don't really think looking for a gank opportunity, just sort of staring at the way I wanted to sap a little bit of farm as BIGSLIMTIMMYJIM walking out. The purple buff's not even spawning yet, so I don't know what they're grouping here for. Maybe looking for a Gold Fury opportunity. They think the purple buff's going to spawn in a little sooner than it actually is, or they just want to, damage check and split a wave or two. It seems like the Wardens, down 5-1, are just trying to, they're grasping at something. They're looking for any avenue back into this game, and it's to start hitting BIGSLIMTIMMYJIM with a little bit of damage.
It seems like the avenue back in is BIGSLIMTIMMYJIM drive is dropped him down low, and that should be his life. Cyno credit for the kill, and he desperately needed it because Chinfu has established a wild pace and continues to do so on the opposite side of the map. RelentlessOne wishing he had gone for a bit of a tankier build, as this Sylvanus is absolutely shredding already. Gold Fury pulled out, Sops showing some presence. A dash in from Cyno and Moswal would have shut down Sops if the Aegis weren't so good. Still might fall down eventually as Diesel rotates through, tries to turn around the engagement. So it is a 2-for-1 trade favoring the Kaolin Wardens, plus Gold Fury, plus ratio.
Yeah, the Weavers got Pyromancer and RelentlessOne. The Wardens got Sops, BIGSLIMTIMMYJIM, and the Gold Fury. The Weavers are still ahead, but that's definitely...
That's
right. As I said, the Wardens were looking for a way back into this game. They found it off the back of a pick, and then another pick, and both relics. So Sops could be in danger next time around. He was 2-0, so that is the second best kill you could get in the game. The first best being the 4-0 old man riding the tree.
Someone's got to stop this guy.
Yeah, someone has to stop this Sylvanus. Going for it, what I can only assume is the Staff of Mirror next, going to get even more damage after the fact. Imagine he blinks in Wrath of Terra, pulls them in, and then just pulls them back in again because he can. He's going to get the cooldowns, and he's going to be able to do that.
I'm imagining it. I'm hating every second of it. Can't wait to see it. Super excited.
I really hope I see it as well because he's 4-0. No one can stop Chinfu at the moment. It will get easier, but it looks like MandoWarrior is going to blink in. BIGSLIMTIMMYJIM is here. Huntress of Bass goes down, and there will be a disengage.
Chinfu doesn't have Blink, but Big Slim does. Moswal forced to use the beads early. Cyno steps up and gets pulled back in. Thanks for your beads, bud. Is forced to retreat to the tier 2 tower. Chinfu has already expended the ultimate, so you gotta think the Sylvanus just not doing a whole lot of damage right now. Can't say the same of Griff, who's already forced the Chernobog up into the air. Where will Diesel land? Immediately back down. That fight on the right-hand side, not looking too appetizing for him. Instead, would like to try his hand for 1v1 yet again. All that poking and prodding really only gets you the Greater Scorpion as of now, and a couple of relics. Chinfu goes for a wishful pull over the wall, does not connect it, and now it's all about the disengage. MandoWarrior on King Arthur should be fine. Big Slim's got the leap. I'm not concerned for him whatsoever. And the Kaolin Wardens, the only thing they really do on this side of the map is a return invade onto the Greater Scorpion, or perhaps a return initiation. Chinfu caught alone in the back line. Moswal off the mark with his ultimate. Big Slim should be getting that ultimate back up before too long, already halfway on the cooldown. Chinfu, on the other hand, has already got his. Forces the Aegis from Moswal, but in exchange, eats the Huntress of Bass. Sylvanus done with this exchange. Cyno, low HP, TPing into the tower from MandoWarrior. He's going for the long flank, gonna line up against Moswal very shortly. Stun is good. RelentlessOne left alone in the tower with Big Slim, just taking it up so the rest of his team can get the kill. Diesel credit for Cyno, and MandoWarrior gonna keep up the chase. 3-for-2 trade could become more if Geno can find this pull. Diesel takes the stun, but MandoWarrior so healthy, able to keep RelentlessOne and Griff back and unable to initiate this fight. Diesel sticking around, forced to use the Aegis, but MandoWarrior playing the back jump, would love to find the 1v1 up against RelentlessOne. So at the end of the day, 3-for-3 trade? These fights are going too long, man.
I mean, yeah, it was a 2-for-3, but still, the chase did, and it looks like Diesel flies back in and find Griff with the Aegis down. One dash will do it! And the 4-for-3 trade for the Weavers. You know, we highlighted it before that fight even started. There's really nothing to fight over. There's no objectives to be looked at.
That's never stopped us before.
And it hasn't stopped the Weavers. They're looking to get active. Their Titan fell, though, and not their actual Titan. Their 4-0 Sylvanus jungle Chinfu, unfortunately, was shut down during that engagement. Is back up now and should be able to get a little bit more active. As you still got Diesel, right? He's 2-0. Moswal's been blinked on. I don't think any ult will come through unless he used the dash on the buff, which He did not, so he's going to be just fine. A worthy gamble. Sops actually is going for the kill underneath the tower. Gets close, but isn't able to connect with those. I would probably bet that he dashed on the buff, too. It's not like he can solo it by himself without it, so a decent play by Big Slim. Unfortunately for him, does not get the beads or connect with that ultimate. Moswal lives to see another day.
Yeah, Moswal nearly falls down. Had Sops connected the axe, probably would have just been Moswal's life as those beads just came back up. The Anansi Weavers still hovering at around that 3,000 gold lead. They've been nursing it for about 10 minutes. Pyromancer spawning very shortly, as is the Oni Fury. So POI is on the map for the Weavers to force these engagements, but it's actually the Kaolin Wardens getting proactive. Cyno and RelentlessOne deep in the jungle. Geno narrowly avoids the pull. Chinfu in some trouble, has to use the ultimate. Big Slim takes the stun, and Cyno takes a whole lot of damage. The Kaolin Wardens, worse for the wear right now. Sops dash forward, Geno removed from the map. 3 members of the Wardens now hovering inside of their own Tier 1 tower. Griff just now starting his rotation towards the center of the map. And the Anansi Weavers, they may not have all their ultimates available, but they have got all their HP, except for Sops. Probably just waiting on one heal from Chinfu, get him back to about 80%. Pyromancer pulled out. RelentlessOne hovering nearby. Cyno shows himself on the map. That should be a free objective. Maybe even reset yourselves to the other side, take the actual Fury.
Yeah, it could be the option. The Oni Fury would be nice. Unfortunately for MandoWarrior, a little bit off the mark on that big ultimate. The fully charged energy would have at least got RelentlessOne's beats down, but a little bit off, and you get the Pyromancer instead. The Weavers have been the ones trying to force action. I mean, the Wardens have been forcing the action. You know, you see the ult in from Geno trying to pull in Chinfu, and he says, all right, I'll just wait until the very last second, get that Wrath of Terra, hit you and Cyno, and then negate that pull. And then the Weavers win the fight after the fact, get the objective. And Diesel is 3 levels ahead, by the way. This is a level 18 Chernobog. You probably want to fight on this side of the map. I would say Griff being level 16 just ticked over, was 15 before, is not going to be able to output as much damage as this Cherno.
Fortunately, though, if you want to get the Chernobog involved, you don't necessarily need to fight on this side of the map. You fight anywhere on the map. Diesel's going to get there with that global presence. MandoWarrior attempting a blue buff invade is unsuccessful. This one able to pick that one up for himself. Cyno makes the rotation. Can this King Arthur get out? Ultimate is available, but it seems as if he'd rather hold on to it. So, Cyno keeping up the dive, actually inside the tower, because the Weavers have taken an engagement on the opposite side of the map. Griff, ultimate defensively to avoid Chinfu's damage.
Mando kills?
And Mando wins the 2v1, and the fight goes well for the Weavers on the opposite side as well. Mando's still healthy, gonna make his way back to base. RelentlessOne gonna get a blue buff invade, I suppose, but that's a value trade for the Weavers. 2 for 0, 1v2, Gold Fury, team fight on the opposite side. That's about as worst case scenario as it gets.
Yeah, I was about to say, like, you could tell the Wardens were like, okay, we'll give up gold, but at least Cyno's going to kill Mando.
Yeah, Cyno's popping off here, guys, don't worry.
And then you just see the tick that says that Mando wins, and then you lose your tower and left. It's like, wait, what's good? RelentlessOne, unfortunately, was not able to see that one either. Got the blue buff, though. So if you want to talk about worst case scenario, he could have not gotten the blue buff.
You're right, and that's massive. That's probably haunting MandoWarrior right now. He's probably real upset that he didn't get that blue buff.
Every time he uses an ability, he's going to look at his mana bar and just, like, slam his desk.
Oh,
Like,
why is it going down?
why isn't it going back up? And the tier 1 and right's going to fall too, and it does. Oh, that's so much gold in favor for the Weavers. 7K with no FG being pulled just yet. And Mando's probably not too afraid. 3-1 on the King Arthur, has a 2-level lead over the opposition. Probably feeling pretty safe.
Geno, what are you doing here, bud? You got Chinfu, MandoWarrior, Big Tim, SMITE, and Diesel. You wanted to ward the Fire Giant, did ya? Probably shouldn't have. That's a free pick, and lucky for the Weavers, exactly where they were headed. Fire Giant pulled out. RelentlessOne has to show some presence. Cyno and Moswal zoned out. Chinfu has got the flank. Moswal forced in the air, turns gold and beads a little too late. Fire Giant burning down expeditiously, and the Weavers have gotten it for themselves. Chinfu in trade. Big Slim still deep in that back line. Would like to finish off a kill onto Cyno. MandoWarrior would love to finish off a kill onto RelentlessOne. Seems like both of them have just got to be disappointed for now. But how disappointed could you really be with Fire Giant on 4?
Yeah, the Weavers would have loved to finish something, but now they're up 9K. They got a Fire Giant. I'm thinking, you know, they're not too worried about that. They lost Chinfu. They get some relics down from Moswal, I believe just the beads. Cyno also was forced to beads there. So if they just stall out a little bit, wait until their jungler comes back, then push as a unit, should be feeling pretty good. Given the itemization here, Chinfu's not that one-shot potential where if you hit that ult, you get a kill. You know, would love to see that Polynomicon. That would help out the burst potential immensely, but if you're fighting with your squad, I think the Wrath of Terra, just as a setup tool, like think of it as a fear no evil in the sense of as long as your team follows up with you, you're going to be just fine. You don't have to do the work yourself. Chinfu 5-2, but need a little bit more HP to finish that kill.
Talk me through the siege and the siege defense from both these teams, Strelly. Because I'm casting team fights, man. I gotta save some breath. These fights go long.
I'll save some brain power for you.
Oh, nice.
I'll tell you how it goes. Moswal's gonna try and poke out as much as possible. We see 2 blinks from the side of the Weavers. Mandos will be up shortly, so once that comes up, they'll have 3 blinks. They gotta get to the back line, and it looks like RelentlessOne will dive the back line. As they dive the back line, I'm thinking the Weavers will do a better job. They just have more levels, they have more itemization. The Bastet, not too tanky. Given the fact that the Wardens are grouped up here around right, should be a free tier 2 tower in left at the very least, as Chinfu and BIGSLIMTIMMYJIM are in the mid lane, sort of, posting around. Remember, Chinfu doesn't have that buff. He doesn't have the Fire Giant, so isn't going to be doing as much, isn't going to be having as much regen. But, the ADCs are looking good. Diesel and sops are going to have each other's back, and they're going to be able to just turn on the tanks at this point. I think the Weavers just attack who's in front of them, essentially.
So the Weavers now have got eyes on the majority of the Kaolin Wardens. Cyno stops the teleport, fortunately for his team, but another ward dropped immediately afterwards. Should have the teleport come through at a moment's notice. Mando decides, all right, if we're not fighting, I'll go ahead and keep doing what I was doing, and that was split pushing. So right side tier 2 gonna go down a lot slower than the left side tier 2, but goes down nonetheless eventually, while the rest of the Weavers start to maintain their siege towards the center of the map. MandoWarrior has to back up a bit. Slight presence from Geno dissuades him from sticking around, but now at the minion way back, continue to do so. Just waiting for the fight to start up proper. Won't be at the mid tier 2 because it's been removed. Geno a little too far forward for my liking. Good sprint from Big Slim. Stops the reinitiation from the Kaolin Wardens. Geno, the first one to fall. Big Slim's done his job. Time to disengage. Well, maybe in a body bag. Cyno, credit for the kill, but it does cost him his blink. Moswal dash forward, trying to connect some damage from a range. 4-man core of the Anansi Weavers on the retreat for now. Seeing if maybe they can close gap onto Cyno, who is completely faded away into the jungle.
If they find Cyno, I mean, Diesel just ults onto them and is able to chase that down. It looks like Cyno will just back and Diesel won't try and find him. They probably assumed he ran through the tower, but he went on a merry little chase, and RelentlessOne is stepping up, gets stunned out by Mando, but the axe doesn't connect, and it looks like the tier 2 tower is the real prize they were at.
So every single tower now taken off the board. The Kaolin Wardens were about 8,000 gold down initially on the siege. Now we're getting closer to 10 to 11,000. Experience looks ridiculous, but when you're actually looking at the levels, there's a bit of parity across the board. You only hit level 21. So Prophet Fury should close up a bit of that experience and gold gap. Gold more important of the two as of now. The Weavers get the Pyromancer and potentially the Fire Giant, or maybe even some lives. Beats used by Cyno early. Diesel, credit for the kill. And here's the thing, Moswal. We know exactly where you are because Peter Pan style, they're in your shadow. Diesel, double kill. 40 seconds left on Cyno and 50 for Moswal. The Weavers may not have Fire Giant, but who needs it when you got a 5 versus 3?
Yeah, they would have loved it, got that Fury and gotten out, but MandoWarrior sensed something was going on. Diesel can always see you once that ultimate gets channeled, and they're able to find that pretty easily. Chinfu with a nice pullback on RelentlessOne. We'll just be walking him down for a bit. I don't imagine there's a kill opportunity here. RelentlessOne is holding on to that ult, but Chinfu's going to be annoying. So much tick damage, he's not going to let them back. So this is a 4v2, and that left side bird falls down for free. And the mid Phoenix, I'm assuming, is coming after, because once again, RelentlessOne, he's not getting out for quite some time. The chase will ensue.
Yeah, but you're chasing him towards the mid Phoenix. Fire Giant's on the respawn. No way he's 1v1ing here. I mean, that's like more damage than I. Oh, what? Hold on.
I told you, bro!
No. Hold on. Give it a second.
Just a tick.
He's fine. He's fine.
Oh, come on, the double pull!
0%er, bro. Look,
I called it so long ago, I needed it to come true, and unfortunately, it did not.
look, if I say he's not going to die, he's not going to die, bro. I don't know what you're holding your breath
What
for.
happened about yesterday when you, or not yesterday, last game when you said there's not a snowball's chance that he gets out?
Snowball's chance of what?
I don't remember.
Oh, okay. Fire Giant goes down for the Anansi Weavers. And look, that was me calling someone dying. I could be wrong about that. Could be calling a survival.
Someone not dying.
Yeah,
Oh, that's what
100% hit rate.
Okay, so is anyone on the Wardens here not going to die on this right side Phoenix?
I'm thinking RelentlessOne lives.
Okay, so you think NotGeno is going to die. I think neither of them are going to die, and they're going to give up the Phoenix. That's what I think should happen.
All right, we'll find out. Right side Phoenix has taken no damage just yet. RelentlessOne
What?
just got removed.
Why was he there?
He was trying to defend the Phoenix, man, and he did a good job. It's still alive. Geno as well falls down. Phoenix still standing, no longer. Cyno pulled back in and dropped incredibly low. Chinfu credit for the kill and dies immediately afterward, does exactly what he needs. Griff, the last remaining member of the Kaolin Wardens, trying to keep the game alive, is unsuccessful in doing so. Chinfu on the Sylvanus jungle finds the win. The Anansi Weavers find their first win of the phase.
Diesel goes 9-0. What a phenomenal game out of everyone from the Weavers, man. This is the game you want to get your first win on. I mean, sure, you'd like to be, I don't know, like the undefeated Hounds, but at least this was a great gameplay, man. This was a joy to watch. All of the Weavers just come together. The Sylvanus jungle found some early presence. Diesel on the Chernobog, you know, didn't have the best game one on that Chronos, but this time around comes out swinging, is able to just join the fight from across the map consistently and help out the team. And you know, Sops was hitting some Ullr axes as well.
It just looked to me like the Kaolin Wardens didn't have the initiation they needed, man. I mean, sure, you got like a whole bunch of single target, but yeah, Huntress of Bass is burning one guy's beads. So are you gonna make use of it on your own immediately afterward? Yeah, sure, Baron or Cyno can burn somebody's beads with a slow. That's fine. Not really though, because you're behind, so Cyno's not starting the fight. Geno can get one person's beads or nobody's, because for the most part it was literally BIGSLIMTIMMYJIM diving head first into the life of the party every single time. It just felt like there wasn't enough beads burning tools for the Kaolin Wardens. And this play right here, you're right, man. That's perfect.
I mean, yeah, if it's me, I'm probably using all my abilities on Cyno to just confirm the kill, but he knew his damage numbers. He's a Sylvanus jungle aficionado there, and so that's why he dashed in. I had to just stop for a second.
What did you call that earlier?
That was the whoopity wop.
That's a real thing. You didn't make that up.
Dude, you saw the whoopity wop. Come on. You guys can't tell me you didn't see it. I'm assuming... No, I don't know. Maybe Moswal 1-1v1. I still think he just got turned around, and unfortunately, a missed input, as you put it, just dashed in there. Maybe thought, you know, that he was able to just dash out, unfortunately. But great gameplay out of the Weavers, man. What a delight.
3-1-10 for MandoWarrior. 13 effective kills with only 1 death. Chinfu puts up a phenomenal slash line at 6-3. Actually rivaling MandoWarrior for top of the damage charts at 19,000. Healing similarly up in the 6K range, so able to do everything for his team, not only killing the enemies, but keeping his boys alive. And I have to echo your sentiment, man. Sure, the Anansi Weavers would have loved to have had a win earlier on in the phase, but taking down the Kaolin Wardens, the 2nd overall seed, it's not a bad look.
And now, I mean, if you're the Weavers, you got a target on your back in the sense of, like, you guys banning out the Sylvanus? Because, like, that was kind of spooky.
It was a little spooky. We've got plenty more SMITE action to come as we check in with the schedule right now. We got some more SCC tomorrow, I believe. Wait, is today Saturday?
Today's Saturday.
There is no more SCC this week. It's over. I lied. Everything on the screen has happened already, as you can tell. 2-0 for the Athenian Sages, 2-1 for the Hounds, and the Weavers in a massive upset. Channel points just absolutely in shambles for Twitch chat. Find their first win of the phase, tying up against the Yomi Tanuki at the bottom of the standings, both sitting at 1-3. The Kaolin Wardens get to maintain 2nd seed, but at 2-2, maybe it makes it a little bit easier for the Eldritch Hounds to maintain their first. Just a tumultuous phase so far in both regions of the SCC. Love everything I've seen watching these up-and-coming talents, man. And it just goes to show, a matchup like that, a perfect example of it. anybody can win.
Yeah, I think with a league that's this tightly knit, right, you never know who's going to be able to take a game off each other. The only, as far as it's been, the only absolute is that the Elder Towns are going to win. And until someone beats them, I'm going to keep saying that. It happened in Phase 1, it's happening once again in Phase 2. So as far as I'm concerned, that's the only thing you can count on, is at the end of a 3-game set, the Elder Towns are going to come out on top. Until they don't. Everyone else, it's up for grabs. 2-2 tied throughout the whole region, besides, you know, the Weavers on the bottom. So they're looking clean.
All right, Smite fans, go get some water. Go get a snack. But don't take too long, like tiny cups, tiny bags of snacks, because the SPL is coming right back in like 9 minutes ago.